The wizarding world is filled with powerful spells, legendary wizards, and magical creatures that capture most of the attention. But quietly growing in greenhouses, forests, and hidden corners of the magical landscape is another branch of magic that has existed for centuries. Magical plants have long played an essential role in potion brewing, healing, and even defense. Long before Hogwarts ever opened its doors, witches and wizards were already studying the strange and sometimes dangerous properties of enchanted flora. Tonight we will slowly explore the remarkable world of herbology, examining the magical plants that grow, thrive, and occasionally fight back. Long before the first stone walls of Hogwarts were raised, witches and wizards were already discovering that magic did not exist only in wands or spoken spells. It lived quietly in the natural world. In forests, along riverbanks, and in hidden valleys, certain plants behaved differently from the ordinary vegetation surrounding them. Their roots held unusual properties, their leaves reacted to magical energy, and their sap could produce effects that no ordinary herb could replicate. Over time, early magical communities began to understand that these plants were not simply unusual variations of nature, they were part of magic itself. In the earliest days of wizarding history, magical people lived much closer to the land than they do now. There were no structured schools of magic, no organized ministries, and very few written records. Knowledge passed from one generation to another through observation and practice. Among the most important pieces of knowledge shared by early witches and wizards was how to recognize magical plants. Some herbs could ease pain or accelerate healing. Others could enhance spells or strengthen potions. A few, however, were capable of causing serious harm if handled carelessly. The study of magical plants gradually became one of the earliest branches of magical knowledge. Unlike charms or transfiguration, which require deliberate spellcasting, magical plants possess their properties naturally. They grow with magic already embedded within them. This meant that even witches and wizards with limited magical ability could make use of them, provided they understood how the plants behaved and how to prepare them correctly. Many early magical remedies depended almost entirely on plant ingredients. Ancient magical healers discovered that certain roots, when crushed or boiled, produced restorative effects far stronger than ordinary herbs. Leaves from particular plants could calm the mind, reduce fever, or strengthen a weakened body. These discoveries formed the earliest foundations of magical medicine. Long before modern potions were refined into precise formulas, witches and wizards were already combining magical plants in simple brews that could heal wounds and cure sickness. Because these plants possessed natural magical properties, they were also unpredictable. Some magical herbs changed their effects depending on how they were harvested. Others became more potent at specific times of day, during particular phases of the moon, or when exposed to certain magical conditions. Early herbalists began to observe these patterns carefully. Through trial and error, they learned that magical plants followed their own strange set of rules. One of the earliest lessons passed down among magical herbalists was that magical plants must be treated with patience and respect. Unlike ordinary crops, they could not always be forced to grow faster or harvested whenever convenient. Many magical species respond strongly to disturbances in their environment. If handled improperly, they might wither, release dangerous substances, or even defend themselves. As magical communities grew, knowledge about these plants slowly expanded. Certain families became known for their expertise in cultivating magical herbs. Others specialized in preparing them for healing or potion brewing. Some of the earliest magical texts believed to exist were simple herbal guides describing how particular plants looked, where they could be found, and what they could be used for. Over time, witches and wizards began to recognize that magical plants were not isolated curiosities. They formed entire ecosystems within the magical world. Forests sometimes contained clusters of enchanted vegetation that seemed to thrive only in places where magical energy was strong. Some magical plants even appeared to react to nearby spells, growing more vigorously in areas where magic was frequently used. This connection between magic and plant life fascinated early scholars. Unlike spells, which required active intention, magical plants appeared to absorb magic from the world around them. Their growth seemed tied to the invisible forces that witches and wizards manipulated with wands. This led to the belief that magical plants were one of the purest expressions of natural magic. As wizarding societies became more organized, the need to formally study magical plants became increasingly clear. Potion brewing was advancing rapidly, and many potions required ingredients that could only be obtained from magical herbs. Without reliable knowledge of how to grow and harvest these plants, potion making remained limited and inconsistent. Eventually, the practice of magical plant study developed into a recognized field of magic. This field would later be known as herbology. Unlike many other magical disciplines, herbology required both magical understanding and practical skill. A successful herbalist needed to recognize subtle differences between similar species, understand when a plant was safe to harvest, and know how to protect themselves from plants that reacted aggressively when disturbed. By the time Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was founded in the late 10th century, the importance of herbology was already widely understood. The founders of the school recognized that any well-trained witch or wizard needed at least a basic understanding of magical plants. Without that knowledge, students would struggle to brew potions, create healing remedies, or even safely travel through certain magical environments. For this reason, herbology became one of the core subjects taught at Hogwarts. From the earliest years of the school, students were introduced to magical plants in carefully controlled environments known as greenhouses. These structures allowed professors to cultivate plants from many different magical habitats, while protecting students from their more dangerous properties. Inside these greenhouses, young witches and wizards began learning the same lessons that ancient herbalists had discovered centuries earlier. They learned that magical plants were living beings with their own instincts and behaviors. Some plants could sense movement, others reacted to sound or temperature. A few could even defend themselves if they believed they were threatened. The study of herbology, therefore, required patience and attentiveness. Students had to observe plants carefully, learn their habits, and understand when it was safe to approach them. Unlike practicing spells, where mistakes could often be corrected quickly, mistakes in herbology sometimes carried more immediate consequences. Despite these risks, magical plants remained essential to nearly every branch of wizarding life. Potion makers relied on them for ingredients. Healers used them to create restorative drafts. Wand makers even studied certain magical trees to determine which woods produced the strongest wands. In many ways, magical plants formed the quiet foundation of wizarding magic. Over centuries, the field of herbology continued to expand as new species were discovered and studied. Some plants were found growing deep within magical forests. Others thrived only in particular climates or magical regions. Each discovery added another piece to the growing understanding of how magic interacts with the natural world. By the modern era of the wizarding world, herbology had become both a respected academic subject and a practical skill taught to every Hogwarts student. What began as scattered knowledge passed between ancient witches and wizards had grown into a complex magical discipline. And yet, even after centuries of study, magical plants still hold many secrets, quietly growing in places where magic and nature meet. By the time Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was founded in the late 10th century, the study of magical plants had already existed for generations. Witches and wizards understood that many forms of magic depended on ingredients that could not be created with spells alone. Roots, leaves, seeds, and bark often carried magical properties that were essential for brewing potions, healing injuries, and preparing defensive remedies. Because of this, the founders of Hogwarts believed that herbology deserved a permanent place in magical education. Unlike some branches of magic that focus purely on wand work, herbology required a different kind of discipline. It involved observation, patience, and a willingness to work closely with living things that could sometimes behave unpredictably. The founders understood that if young witches and wizards were going to use magical plants safely, they would need to learn how to recognize them, handle them carefully, and respect the dangers they occasionally presented. For this reason, herbology quickly became one of the core subjects taught at Hogwarts. Students would begin learning about magical plants early in their education and gradually move on to more complex and dangerous species as their experience grew. The subject was practical by nature. While other lessons might take place in classrooms or libraries, herbology required students to spend much of their time working directly with the plants themselves. To support this type of learning, Hogwarts built a series of greenhouses on the school grounds. These glass structures were designed to provide controlled environments where magical plants could grow safely. Each greenhouse maintained specific conditions suited to different types of magical vegetation. Some plants required warm, humid air, while others thrived in cooler conditions. Certain species needed magical soil mixtures or enchanted watering methods to remain healthy. Over time, the Hogwarts greenhouses became some of the most important spaces within the school. They served not only as classrooms, but also as living collections of magical flora gathered from many different regions of the wizarding world. Within their glass walls, students could study plants that might otherwise be impossible to find in the wild. The greenhouses were carefully organized according to the difficulty and danger level of the plants inside them. The first greenhouse generally contained relatively safe plants, suitable for younger students who were still learning the basics of magical botany. Here, students might begin by identifying simple magical herbs, practicing how to repot plants, and learning how to harvest ingredients without damaging the plant itself. As students progressed through their years at Hogwarts, they were gradually introduced to more complex and sometimes hazardous species. Some plants released irritating sap or produced thorns capable of causing minor magical reactions. Others reacted strongly when disturbed, curling their vines or snapping their branches defensively. These behaviors taught students an important lesson about magical plants. They were not passive objects, but living organisms capable of responding to their surroundings. Among the Hogwarts greenhouses, one in particular held a reputation that students quickly learned to respect. This was Greenhouse 3, which contained some of the most dangerous magical plants studied at the school. Only older students were allowed to work inside it, and even then they did so under close supervision from their professor. Plants kept there often required protective clothing, careful handling, and sometimes even specialized spells to ensure the safety of everyone involved. The professor responsible for teaching herbology during Harry Potter's time at Hogwarts was Pomona Sprout. Professor Sprout was known throughout the school as a dedicated and knowledgeable herbologist who had spent many years studying magical plants. She had a practical teaching style that emphasized hands-on learning. Rather than simply describing the plants in lectures, she encouraged students to interact with them directly, guiding them through the proper techniques for planting, trimming, and harvesting. Professor Sprout also believed that respect for magical plants was one of the most important lessons her students could learn. Many of the plants studied in herbology were capable of causing injury if treated carelessly. Some could produce poisonous substances, while others possessed defensive behaviors that made them dangerous to approach without preparation. By teaching students how to recognize warning signs and use proper protective equipment, she ensured that even the most hazardous plants could be studied safely. One of the most memorable herbology lessons involved the repotting of mandrakes, which are among the most famous magical plants taught at Hogwarts. During these lessons, students wore protective earmuffs to shield themselves from the dangerous scream produced by the mandrake root when it was removed from its pot. The exercise demonstrated how herbology lessons often combined botanical knowledge with practical safety precautions. Another important part of herbology at Hogwarts was its connection to potion brewing. Many potions required plant ingredients that students themselves would grow and harvest in herbology class. By learning how these ingredients were cultivated, students gained a deeper understanding of how potions worked and why certain ingredients were necessary. In this way, herbology served as a foundation for several other magical disciplines. Students also learned that magical plants did not always behave in predictable ways. Some species responded to environmental conditions, such as sunlight or temperature, while others reacted to magical energy itself. A plant might grow more vigorously in an area where spells were frequently cast, or it might become dormant if removed from its natural magical habitat. These unusual behaviors made the study of magical plants both fascinating and challenging. Working in the greenhouses also taught students the importance of patience. Magical plants rarely responded well to rushed or careless handling. Repotting a plant incorrectly could damage its roots or trigger defensive reactions. Harvesting leaves too early might reduce the potency of the ingredient needed for a potion. Students quickly discovered that careful observation was often the most valuable skill an herbologist could possess. Despite the occasional dangers, herbology lessons were often considered some of the most enjoyable classes at Hogwarts. Unlike subjects that required hours of reading or complex wand work, herbology allowed students to spend time outdoors, surrounded by living plants and fresh air. The greenhouses were filled with unusual scents, colors, and textures, creating an environment unlike any other classroom at the school. Over the centuries, Hogwarts continued to expand its collection of magical plants. Some species were cultivated for their practical uses in potions and healing remedies. Others were studied purely out of curiosity, offering insights into the strange ways magic could influence plant life. Each new plant added to the greenhouses represented another opportunity for students to learn about the magical world in a direct and tangible way. Through this steady tradition of study and cultivation, Hogwarts became one of the most important centers of magical botany in Britain. Generations of witches and wizards passed through the greenhouses, learning how to care for plants that could heal, defend, or occasionally cause trouble. By the time students completed their education, they left with not only knowledge of magical spells, but also an appreciation for the quiet power growing in the soil beneath their feet. And among all the plants that students encountered during their years at Hogwarts, few were as infamous, as dangerous, or as strangely fascinating as the dark, creeping vines known as Devil's Snare. Among the many plants studied by witches and wizards, few have gained a reputation as quietly dangerous as the plant known as Devil's Snare. At first glance, it can appear harmless, especially to someone unfamiliar with magical vegetation. Its dark green vines grow low along the ground, forming thick clusters of tangled stems and soft-looking leaves. In dim conditions, it often spreads across stone floors, soil beds, or shaded forest ground, blending easily into its surroundings. Because of this, inexperienced witches and wizards sometimes fail to recognize it until they are already standing within its reach. Devil's Snare belongs to a group of magical plants known for their defensive and constricting behavior. Unlike many ordinary plants that simply grow passively, Devil's Snare reacts strongly to movement and pressure. When a person or creature steps into its vines, the plant responds almost immediately. The tendrils begin to coil and tighten, wrapping themselves around the intruder with surprising speed. What begins as a gentle tangle can quickly become a powerful grip. The plant's strength does not come from magical spells or sudden bursts of energy. Instead, its vines slowly tighten over time. The more a victim struggles against the plant, the tighter the coils become. This behavior is one of the reasons Devil's Snare has proven dangerous throughout wizarding history. Panic and resistance only encourage the plant to strengthen its hold. Because the vines respond to pressure, victims often find themselves immobilized within moments. Arms, legs, and even the torso may become wrapped in thick green tendrils. If the plant is allowed to continue tightening, it can eventually restrict breathing or prevent escape entirely. While Devil's Snare is not considered a deliberately predatory plant, its natural defensive instinct can easily become life-threatening. Despite this danger, experienced herbologists have long known that Devil's Snare also possesses a simple weakness. The plant thrives in dark and damp environments. Shade and cool air allow it to spread rapidly, and it prefers places where sunlight rarely reaches the ground. When exposed to strong light or warmth, however, the plant becomes far less aggressive. Its vines loosen and withdraw, gradually releasing whatever they have captured. This weakness made Devil's Snare easier to control once herbologists understood its behavior. Bright light sources, fire-based spells, or even intense magical warmth can force the plant to retreat. Because of this, skilled witches and wizards can escape its grip if they remain calm and remember the plant's natural aversion to light. One of the earliest recorded descriptions of Devil's Snare appears in medieval herbological writings. These texts describe the plant as a creeping vine that could trap animals wandering through forest undergrowth. Early magical herbalists warned readers never to struggle if caught by the plant. Instead, they advised remaining still until help arrived, or introducing light to force the vines to loosen. Over centuries, the plant's reputation spread throughout wizarding communities. Travelers learned to avoid stepping into dense clusters of dark vines growing in shaded corners. Young witches and wizards studying herbology were often taught about Devil's Snare early in their education, partly because the plant demonstrated an important lesson. Magical plants could appear ordinary at first glance, yet still possess powerful defensive abilities. Because of its distinctive behavior, Devil's Snare eventually became a standard subject in herbology classes at Hogwarts. Students studying magical botany would learn to identify the plant by its tangled vines and preference for shadowed environments. They were also taught the importance of responding calmly if they encountered it. Panic, as generations of herbologists had discovered, only made the plant more dangerous. The plant became widely known among students during Harry Potter's first year at Hogwarts. Devil's Snare was used as one of the protective obstacles guarding the Philosopher's Stone, hidden deep within the school. In this case, the plant filled an entire chamber, spreading across the floor like a living carpet of vines. Anyone who fell into it would quickly become trapped. When Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger entered the chamber, they initially struggled against the vines, which only caused the plant to tighten around them. Hermione quickly remembered the plant's weakness from her herbology studies. By producing a burst of magical fire, she introduced heat and light into the chamber. The vines immediately recoiled, releasing their grip and allowing the three students to escape. This moment demonstrated how herbology knowledge could be just as valuable as spellcasting in dangerous situations. Understanding the natural behavior of magical plants allowed Hermione to solve the problem without attempting to overpower the plant directly. Instead, she simply applied the principle that Devil's Snare dislikes light and warmth. Although the plant can be hazardous in uncontrolled environments, it is sometimes cultivated in controlled magical greenhouses for educational purposes. Herbology students studying Devil's Snare learn how to recognize its vines, how to safely approach the plant, and how to neutralize its grip if necessary. Protective lighting and careful supervision allow professors to demonstrate the plant's behavior without placing students at serious risk. In some rare cases, Devil's Snare has also been used as a defensive plant in magical locations. Because it can immobilize intruders quickly, it serves as a natural barrier in certain enchanted environments. However, maintaining the plant requires careful attention to ensure that it does not spread beyond its intended boundaries. Despite its reputation, Devil's Snare is not malicious. Like many magical plants, it simply reacts to disturbances in its environment. When left undisturbed in dark, damp places, it grows quietly along the ground, forming thick networks of vines that may remain unnoticed for years. It is only when someone accidentally steps into its territory that the plant's defensive nature becomes apparent. The study of Devil's Snare illustrates an important truth about magical plants. Many of them possess abilities that seem almost deliberate, as though they are actively responding to the world around them. Yet these behaviors are simply part of their natural, magical biology. Understanding those instincts allows witches and wizards to coexist safely with plants that might otherwise be misunderstood. For students of herbology, Devil's Snare represents an early introduction to the strange relationship between magic and plant life. It teaches patience, observation, and the value of knowledge when facing unfamiliar, magical phenomena. And while its vines may seem intimidating at first, they are only one example of the many unusual plants that witches and wizards have learned to study, cultivate, and sometimes cautiously admire. Beyond the creeping vines of Devil's Snare, the magical world contains plants far more aggressive, plants that do not simply tighten their grip, but actively lash out at anything that approaches too closely. Among these is a particularly notorious species known for its snapping tendrils and poisonous bite, the Venomous Tentacular. Some magical plants defend themselves quietly, tightening vines or releasing irritating sap when disturbed. Others behave far more aggressively, reacting to movement with sudden bursts of motion that can catch even experienced witches and wizards by surprise. One of the most well-known examples of this more hostile category of magical flora is the Venomous Tentacular, a plant whose twisting tendrils and poisonous bite have earned it a reputation among herbologists as both fascinating and hazardous. The Venomous Tentacular is instantly recognizable once someone learns what to look for. Its body consists of a thick central stalk surrounded by long, flexible vines that move almost like living tentacles. These vines are dark green and covered with small barbed thorns. At the end of each tendril is a snapping, tooth-lined pod that resembles the mouth of a carnivorous plant. When the plant senses movement nearby, these pods open and close rapidly, snapping at anything within reach. Unlike some magical plants that remain mostly passive until stepped on, the Venomous Tentacular is constantly alert. Its tendrils shift and coil slowly even when no one is nearby, as though the plant is exploring the air around it. Herbologists believe the plant can sense vibrations in the ground, as well as changes in air movement. When something approaches, the vines become more active, extending outward and preparing to strike. The plant's venom is its most dangerous feature. Hidden within the sharp thorns and snapping pods is a toxic secretion that can cause painful swelling and magical irritation if it comes into contact with skin. In severe cases, the venom can lead to temporary paralysis or disorientation. Because of this, anyone handling the plant must wear thick protective gloves and maintain a careful distance from the moving vines. Despite these dangers, the Venomous Tentacular is widely studied in herbology because its venom also possesses valuable magical properties. When carefully extracted and diluted, the plant's toxins can be used as ingredients in certain potions. Some of these potions rely on the venom's ability to interact with magical energy in the body, making it useful in controlled amounts. However, harvesting the venom requires great precision and patience, as disturbing the plant too aggressively can cause it to lash out. Cultivating Venomous Tentacular is not a simple task. The plant requires specific environmental conditions to grow properly. It thrives in warm soil with moderate humidity, but it also needs enough space for its vines to extend freely. If confined too tightly, the plant becomes even more aggressive, striking repeatedly at anything that enters its limited territory. Herbologists therefore grow the plant in large containers or specially prepared greenhouse beds where it has room to spread. At Hogwarts, Venomous Tentacular is typically studied by older students who have already gained experience working with less dangerous magical plants. Even in the controlled environment of the school's greenhouses, the plant demands careful attention. Professor Sprout often reminds students that the vines should never be underestimated, no matter how slow or calm the plant appears at first. When approaching a Venomous Tentacular, students are taught to move slowly and avoid sudden gestures. Quick movements can trigger the plant's defensive reaction, causing the tendrils to snap toward the source of the disturbance. By remaining calm and controlled, an herbologist can reduce the likelihood of provoking the plant unnecessarily. One of the techniques used when studying the plant involves distracting its vines with controlled movement. Because the tendrils are drawn toward motion, experienced herbologists can sometimes guide them away from sensitive areas by shifting objects nearby. This method allows them to reach the central stalk or venom sacs without placing themselves directly in the path of the snapping pods. Another important aspect of handling the plant is understanding its growth cycle. Like many magical species, the Venomous Tentacular goes through stages of development in which its behavior changes slightly. Younger plants tend to have shorter vines and weaker venom, making them somewhat easier to manage. As the plant matures, however, its tendrils grow longer and its reactions become faster. Fully grown specimens can extend their vines several feet in all directions, creating a protective zone around the plant. In natural environments, this behavior helps prevent animals or other creatures from feeding on the plant's leaves or damaging its roots. The plant's aggressive defenses ensure that it remains largely undisturbed once it reaches maturity. Because of its striking appearance and active behavior, the Venomous Tentacular has become one of the most memorable plants studied in herbology classes. Students often find it both intimidating and fascinating. Watching the vines twist and snap gives the impression that the plant possesses a kind of awareness, even though its movements are simply the result of magical biological instincts. Herbologists believe that the Venomous Tentacular evolved its defensive traits in response to the magical ecosystems where it naturally grows. In wild magical forests, plants often compete for space and magical energy. Species that developed stronger defensive mechanisms were more likely to survive. Over time, the Venomous Tentacular became one of the most formidable plant species in its environment. Despite its hostile behavior, the plant still plays a role in maintaining balance within magical ecosystems. By deterring animals and magical creatures from grazing too heavily in certain areas, it helps preserve patches of vegetation that might otherwise be destroyed. In this way, even aggressive magical plants contribute to the overall stability of their habitats. The plant's venom has also led to continued research among potion makers and magical botanists. Some scholars believe that the unique magical compounds found in Venomous Tentacular venom could eventually lead to new potion discoveries. Others study the plant's unusual movement patterns, hoping to better understand how magical energy interacts with plant life. For students studying herbology, the Venomous Tentacular represents a significant step forward in their education. Learning to work around its snapping tendrils requires steady hands, patience, and confidence. It reminds young witches and wizards that magical plants are not simply passive ingredients waiting to be harvested. They are living beings capable of defending themselves with remarkable efficiency. While the twisting vines of the Venomous Tentacular may seem threatening, they are only one example of the strange and powerful plants that herbologists encounter. In fact, some magical plants are even more famous not because of their movement or venom, but because of a sound so dangerous that simply hearing it can cause immediate harm. Deep beneath the soil of certain magical gardens grows a root unlike any other, a plant whose cry is powerful enough to knock a person unconscious and, in its mature form, even cause death. This plant is known throughout the wizarding world as the Mandrake. Among all the magical plants studied by witches and wizards, few are as widely known or as strangely unsettling as the Mandrake. Unlike most magical vegetation, which resembles ordinary plants with unusual properties, the Mandrake possesses a form that appears almost disturbingly human. When fully grown, the root of the Mandrake resembles a small figure with limbs and a face, curled beneath the soil, as if it had grown into the shape of a tiny person. This unusual appearance has fascinated magical scholars for centuries. The plant's scientific classification within magical botany identifies it as Mandragora, but its reputation extends far beyond academic study. Stories about mandrakes appear in magical folklore dating back hundreds of years. Early accounts describe the plant as both powerful and dangerous, a rare ingredient capable of restoring life and health when used correctly, yet deadly when mishandled. The most remarkable feature of the mandrake is its cry. When the root is removed from the soil, the plant releases a loud, piercing scream. For young mandrakes, this cry is powerful enough to knock a person unconscious. Fully mature mandrakes, however, produce a cry so intense that hearing it directly can be fatal. Because of this, anyone harvesting or studying mandrakes must take strict precautions. The cry itself is not merely a sound in the ordinary sense. Magical botanists believe it is a release of magical energy, combined with the plant's natural defensive instinct. The mandrake does not intentionally attack those who disturb it. Instead, its scream functions as a form of protection, much like the venom of certain magical plants or the constricting vines of others. The difference is that the mandrake's defense affects the listener rather than the physical environment around it. Because of the danger posed by the mandrake's cry, herbologists developed protective techniques long ago. The most common method involves the use of thick earmuffs that block all sound. When harvesting mandrakes, witches and wizards must wear these protective coverings before removing the plant from the soil. Without them, the cry would be heard immediately, producing its dangerous effects. Despite these risks, the mandrake is one of the most valuable magical plants known to potion makers. Its roots contain powerful restorative properties that make it essential for certain advanced potions. Most notably, mandrake is the key ingredient in the Mandrake Restorative Draught, a potion capable of reversing powerful magical curses and transformations. One of the most famous uses of mandrake occurred during Harry Potter's second year at Hogwarts. Several students and staff members were mysteriously petrified after encountering the monster hidden within the Chamber of Secrets. The only known cure for this condition required the use of mature mandrakes grown in the Hogwarts greenhouses. Professor Sprout carefully cultivated the plants over several months, waiting for them to reach the correct stage of maturity before harvesting them for potion brewing. Mandrakes do not reach full maturity immediately. Like many magical plants, they develop in stages, each with its own distinct characteristics. When first planted, mandrake seedlings resemble small green plants with simple leaves. Beneath the soil, however, the root slowly begins to take on its familiar human-like shape. As the plant grows, the root develops tiny limbs and a face that becomes increasingly detailed. Young mandrakes behave very much like infants. When removed from their pots, they cry loudly and thrash their small limbs in irritation. While their cries are strong enough to cause unconsciousness, they are not yet fatal. During this stage, herbology students are sometimes allowed to observe the plants while wearing protective earmuffs, learning how the roots react when disturbed. As the mandrakes continue to mature, their behavior changes. Adolescent mandrakes develop more distinct facial expressions and stronger movements. They may attempt to bite or scratch when handled, displaying a surprising level of resistance for a plant. Eventually, once they reach full maturity, their cries become powerful enough to cause death if heard directly. Another unusual feature of mandrakes is their apparent emotional behavior. Herbologists have observed that the plants respond to their surroundings in ways that resemble mood changes. They may appear restless or irritable when crowded together in pots, and they sometimes seem calmer when replanted in larger spaces with fresh soil. While these behaviors are not fully understood, they reinforce the idea that magical plants often behave in ways that blur the line between plant and creature. Caring for mandrakes requires careful attention to their environment. The plants grow best in rich magical soil that allows their roots to expand freely. They also require regular watering and proper spacing between pots to prevent overcrowding. If neglected, mandrakes can become difficult to manage, producing constant cries and struggling violently when handled. The harvesting of mature mandrakes is considered a significant event in herbology classes. Because of the dangers involved, professors supervise the process closely. Students must wear protective gear, including earmuffs and gloves, while carefully removing the plants from their pots. Once harvested, the roots are quickly transported to potion laboratories where they are prepared for brewing. The preparation of mandrake roots is itself a delicate process. The roots must be cleaned and sliced according to precise potion recipes. Too much heat during preparation can reduce the effectiveness of the magical compounds within the root. Skilled potion makers therefore handle the ingredient with great care to ensure its restorative properties remain intact. Throughout wizarding history, mandrakes have played an important role in magical medicine. Healers at hospitals such as St. Mungo's rely on mandrake-based potions to reverse powerful magical afflictions. Victims of curses, transfigurations, and certain forms of petrification may all benefit from remedies that include mandrake root. Because of its importance, the mandrake remains one of the most carefully cultivated magical plants in the wizarding world. Herbologists continue to study its growth patterns and magical properties, hoping to better understand how such a strange plant developed its unique characteristics. Despite centuries of research, the mandrake still feels mysterious to many who encounter it. Its human-like form, emotional behavior, and dangerous cry make it unlike any ordinary plant. Yet within the structured environment of Hogwarts greenhouses, students learn to approach it not with fear, but with knowledge and preparation. The study of mandrakes reminds young witches and wizards that magical plants can be both dangerous and invaluable at the same time. With the right care and understanding, even the most intimidating plant can become an essential part of magical healing. And beyond the strange cries of the mandrake, the world of magical plants continues to grow even more unusual. Some plants do not scream or strike with vines, but instead defend themselves in a far more unexpected way, releasing foul magical substances when disturbed. Among these peculiar species is a cactus-like plant known as the Mimulus Mimbletonia. Among the many unusual plants studied in herbology, some possess defenses that are not immediately dangerous, but are certainly unpleasant. One such plant is the Mimulus Mimbletonia, a magical cactus known for its strange appearance and its rather unfortunate defensive behavior. While it may not attack with snapping vines or deadly cries like some other magical plants, it still demands a certain level of caution from anyone who chooses to handle it. The Mimulus Mimbletonia is a rare magical plant that resembles a squat, bulbous cactus covered in numerous small swellings. Unlike ordinary cacti, which are typically covered in sharp spines, this plant has a thick, bumpy surface made up of round protrusions that give it a somewhat lumpy and uneven appearance. Its color ranges from dull green to a slightly darker shade, depending on the conditions in which it grows. At first glance, the plant appears fairly harmless. It does not lash out with tendrils, and it does not react violently to the presence of nearby movement. Because of this, many students encountering the plant for the first time are surprised to learn that it still possesses a very effective defense mechanism. The defensive behavior of the Mimulus Mimbletonia is known as stink sap. When the plant is startled, bumped, or otherwise disturbed, it releases a thick spray of foul-smelling green liquid from the swellings across its surface. This substance is not poisonous in the traditional sense, but it is extremely unpleasant. The odor is strong enough to fill an entire greenhouse and can linger for quite some time after the plant has discharged it. Herbologists believe that the purpose of this defense is to discourage animals or magical creatures from disturbing the plant. In the wild, the sudden release of stink sap would likely drive away curious creatures before they could damage the plant's body. Unlike venomous plants that injure their attackers, the Mimulus Mimbletonia relies on discomfort rather than harm. Despite its unpleasant smell, the stink sap produced by the plant is sometimes studied for its minor magical properties. In small quantities, the substance can be used in certain potion experiments that involve odor-altering compounds or magical irritants. However, the sap is rarely used as a primary potion ingredient because its magical effects are limited compared to other plants studied in herbology. The rarity of the Mimulus Mimbletonia makes it an interesting specimen within magical greenhouses. The plant is not commonly found growing in the wild within Britain. Instead, it is believed to originate from more remote magical regions where environmental conditions allow it to thrive. Herbologists have speculated that its natural habitat may include warmer climates where cactus-like plants are more common. Because of its unusual shape and behavior, the plant occasionally appears in magical collections maintained by witches and wizards who have a particular interest in magical botany. One well-known example of this occurred during Harry Potter's 4th year at Hogwarts, when Neville Longbottom received a Mimulus Mimbletonia as a gift. Neville had a well-known enthusiasm for herbology and often showed great care when working with magical plants. When he brought the Mimulus Mimbletonia to Hogwarts, he kept it in a small pot within the Gryffindor common room. The plant quickly became a source of curiosity among the students, many of whom had never seen one before. At one point, the plant was accidentally disturbed, triggering its defensive stinksap spray. The sudden burst of foul-smelling liquid filled the room with a terrible odor, demonstrating exactly why the plant's defense mechanism was so effective. Although no one was harmed by the incident, the smell lingered long enough to ensure that everyone nearby remembered the experience. Events like this highlight an important lesson about magical plants. Even those that seem relatively harmless can possess unexpected reactions when startled or mishandled. Herbology students are often reminded that the safest approach when dealing with any unfamiliar plant is to move carefully and observe its behavior before attempting to touch it. Caring for a Mimulus Mimbletonia is relatively straightforward compared to some more dangerous magical species. The plant prefers dry soil conditions, similar to those required by ordinary cacti. It does not require constant watering, and excessive moisture can actually damage its roots. Herbologists, therefore, ensure that the soil surrounding the plant remains well drained and lightly watered. Lighting conditions also play an important role in the plant's health. While the Mimulus Mimbletonia can tolerate moderate sunlight, it generally prefers environments where the light is not too intense. Too much direct light may cause the plant's outer swellings to dry or crack, which can weaken its ability to produce stinksap when necessary. Propagation of the plant is somewhat unusual as well. Rather than spreading through seeds alone, the Mimulus Mimbletonia can reproduce by developing small offshoots that grow from its base. These offshoots can eventually be separated from the main plant and replanted, allowing new specimens to grow under proper care. Herbologists studying the plant continue to examine the composition of its stinksap in greater detail. Some researchers believe that the sap may contain mild magical compounds capable of interacting with other potion ingredients. Although these effects are still being studied, the plant remains primarily known for its odor rather than any significant magical application. The Mimulus Mimbletonia, therefore, occupies a curious place among magical plants. It is not particularly dangerous, nor is it especially valuable in potion making. Instead, its significance lies in the way it demonstrates the wide variety of defensive strategies used by magical vegetation. Some plants rely on venom or constriction to protect themselves. Others produce cries powerful enough to incapacitate those who disturb them. The Mimulus Mimbletonia, by contrast, relies on something much simpler. By releasing a sudden cloud of terrible-smelling sap, it ensures that whatever creature disturbed it will likely think twice before approaching again. For herbology students, encountering the plant often serves as a reminder that magical plants are not always predictable. Even those that seem quiet and passive may possess surprising abilities hidden beneath their surface. And while the unpleasant odor of stinksap may be memorable, it is far from the most unusual substance produced by magical plants. In fact, another plant studied by herbologists produces a thick magical fluid with far more practical uses, a substance that has become an important ingredient in magical cosmetics and potions. This plant is known as the Bubotuber. Among the many magical plants cultivated by herbologists, some appear strange not because they move or defend themselves aggressively, but because of the unusual substances they produce. One of the most recognizable examples of this is the Bubotuber. At first glance, the plant does not resemble a typical leafy herb or flowering plant. Instead, it appears as a thick, dark tuber that grows beneath the soil, somewhat similar in shape to a large slug-like root. The surface of a bubotuber is smooth and dark, often described as black or deep purple in color. It lacks leaves or visible stems, giving it a somewhat simple appearance compared to other magical plants. However, this plain exterior hides a rather remarkable property. Beneath its surface lies a thick, yellowish-green liquid known as bubotuber pus. The name itself may sound unpleasant, and the substance certainly has a strong odor, but the pus produced by the bubotuber is actually quite valuable in the wizarding world. When carefully collected and diluted, it can be used as an ingredient in certain potions and magical treatments. One of its most well-known uses is in magical remedies designed to treat skin conditions. The process of harvesting bubotuber pus requires care and patience. When the tuber is squeezed gently, the liquid begins to seep out through small openings in the plant's surface. Herbologists must collect the substance slowly, using protective gloves and containers designed to prevent contamination. Although the liquid itself is not highly dangerous, it can cause irritation if it comes into direct contact with the skin. Students at Hogwarts often encounter bubotubers during their herbology lessons. In one well-known class, taught by Professor Sprout, students were instructed to harvest the pus from freshly grown bubotubers. The exercise required them to carefully squeeze the plants while collecting the liquid in small containers. For many students, the experience was both fascinating and slightly unpleasant, as the smell of the substance could easily fill the greenhouse. Despite the unpleasant odor, bubotuber pus has proven extremely useful in magical cosmetic potions. When properly diluted, it can help reduce certain magical skin conditions, such as severe acne or magical irritations caused by potion ingredients. This practical use has made bubotubers an important plant within the study of magical herbal remedies. Like many magical plants, bubotubers grow best under specific environmental conditions. They require rich soil that retains moisture without becoming overly saturated. If the soil becomes too dry, the tubers may shrink and stop producing pus altogether. On the other hand, excessive moisture can cause the plant to rot before it reaches maturity. Herbologists therefore monitor the growth of bubotubers carefully. The plants are often grown in greenhouse beds where the soil conditions can be adjusted as needed. Because they develop underground, much of the plant's growth remains hidden from view until the tuber becomes large enough to harvest. The plant's life cycle is relatively straightforward compared to more aggressive magical species. Bubotubers grow slowly beneath the soil until they reach a size suitable for harvesting. Once mature, they can continue producing pus for a limited period before eventually losing their potency. At that point, the tuber is often replaced with a new plant grown from spores or cuttings. One interesting aspect of the bubotuber is that it appears to have evolved specifically to produce its unusual liquid. While many magical plants possess defensive mechanisms or striking visual traits, the bubotuber's primary feature is its ability to generate a substance that can be used in magical treatments. Some herbologists have suggested that this adaptation may have originally served a different purpose in the wild. In natural environments, the pus may act as a protective secretion that discourages creatures from digging up the plant. Its strong smell and irritating properties could easily drive away animals attempting to feed on the tuber. Over time, witches and wizards discovered that the same substance could be adapted for useful magical purposes when properly diluted. Because bubotubers are relatively stable and non-aggressive, they are often used as introductory examples of magical plant harvesting. Students learning herbology quickly discover that not all magical plants attack or defend themselves dramatically. Some simply produce substances that must be collected carefully and prepared correctly. The harvesting process also teaches an important lesson about magical plant handling. Even plants that appear harmless may still produce substances capable of causing irritation if handled carelessly. Protective gloves and careful collection methods are therefore standard practice whenever working with Bubotubers. In addition to their use in cosmetic potions, some experimental potion makers have studied Bubotuber pus as a possible ingredient in more complex magical mixtures. Its unique magical properties allow it to interact with other potion components in subtle ways. While it is rarely the central ingredient in major potions, it sometimes serves as a stabilizing or supporting component within certain formulas. Bubotubers therefore represent another example of how magical plants contribute quietly to everyday life in the wizarding world. While they may not possess the dramatic defenses of plants like Devil's Snare or Venomous Tentacular, their usefulness lies in the substances they produce rather than the way they behave. The study of plants like the Bubotuber also demonstrates how herbology connects directly with other magical disciplines. Potion brewing, magical medicine, and even cosmetic enchantments rely on ingredients gathered from plants cultivated in greenhouses and magical gardens. Without these plants, many of the remedies and potions used throughout wizarding society would simply not exist. For Hogwarts students, the lesson learned from Bubotubers is simple but important. Magical plants should not be judged solely by how dangerous or impressive they appear. Some of the most valuable plants in herbology are the ones that quietly produce useful ingredients beneath the soil. And while the thick green pus of the Bubotuber may not seem especially elegant, it is far from the only plant ingredient used in magical potions. In fact, some of the most common potion ingredients come from plants that appear far more ordinary at first glance. One such plant is Valyrian, an herb whose magical properties have been studied and cultivated by witches and wizards for generations. Among the many magical plants studied in herbology, some appear much closer to ordinary herbs found in the non-magical world. Yet even these seemingly familiar plants possess subtle magical properties that make them valuable to witches and wizards. One such plant is Valyrian, a herb that has been cultivated for centuries for its calming and restorative effects. Valyrian grows as a modest plant with clusters of pale flowers and long, narrow leaves. Its most important magical properties, however, lie beneath the soil in its roots. The roots of the Valyrian plant contain compounds that interact with magical energy in ways that influence the mind and body. When properly prepared, they can be used to produce potions that calm anxiety, induce sleep, and restore mental balance. The use of Valyrian in magical potions dates back to some of the earliest records of potion brewing. Ancient magical healers discovered that the crushed roots of the plant could create soothing draughts that eased stress and helped witches and wizards recover from emotional strain. Because of this, Valyrian quickly became a staple ingredient in many magical medicine cabinets. Over time, potion makers refined the use of Valyrian by combining it with other ingredients to create more complex effects. In certain sleep-inducing potions, Valyrian works as a stabilizing component that gently relaxes the mind. In other mixtures, it helps balance stronger magical ingredients that might otherwise produce unpleasant side effects. At Hogwarts, Valyrian is commonly introduced to students studying the basics of potion brewing. Because the plant is relatively safe to handle and easy to cultivate, it provides an ideal example of how magical herbs can be prepared and used in potions. Students often begin by learning how to properly chop or crush Valyrian roots before adding them to brewing mixtures. One well-known example of Valyrian's use in potion making occurs in the Draught of Peace. This potion is designed to calm the drinker, easing anxiety and soothing troubled emotions. Valyrian root plays an important role in the potion's effectiveness, helping to create the gentle magical balance that allows the mixture to relax the mind without causing harm. Although Valyrian is not considered dangerous, herbologists still emphasize proper harvesting techniques. The roots must be collected at the correct stage of the plant's growth in order to retain their magical potency. If harvested too early, the roots may not contain enough magical energy to produce the desired effects in potion brewing. If left in the soil for too long, the potency of the root may begin to decline. The cultivation of valerian in magical greenhouses is relatively straightforward. The plant grows best in well-drained soil, with moderate moisture and a steady supply of sunlight. Unlike more aggressive magical plants, valerian does not react defensively when handled. Its calm and stable nature mirrors the soothing effects it produces when used in potions. Herbologists often appreciate valerian because it represents a quieter side of magical botany. While some magical plants attract attention through dramatic behavior or unusual defenses, valerian's importance lies in its reliability. It grows steadily, produces useful roots, and rarely causes problems for those who care for it properly. Despite its gentle reputation, valerian still possesses a subtle connection to magical energy. Some magical scholars believe that the plant absorbs small amounts of magical influence from its surroundings as it grows. This absorbed energy may contribute to the calming effects observed when the root is used in potions. The connection between valerian and sleep has also made the plant symbolic within wizarding culture. Certain magical texts refer to valerian as a herb associated with rest and peace of mind. In some traditions, small sachets containing dried valerian root are kept in homes or carried by travelers seeking calm during stressful journeys. Within the Hogwarts greenhouses, valerian beds are carefully maintained to ensure a steady supply of roots for potion classes. Students learning herbology sometimes assist in tending these plants, gaining experience in identifying when the roots are ready for harvesting. Through these lessons, they begin to understand how even the most unassuming magical plants play an important role in the larger world of magic. Valerian also demonstrates the close relationship between herbology and potion making. Many potion ingredients cannot simply be purchased or conjured through spells. Instead, they must be grown patiently in magical gardens or greenhouses. Herbologists therefore provide essential support for potion masters, ensuring that valuable ingredients remain available throughout the year. Because the plant grows in relatively large quantities and poses little danger, valerian is often cultivated not only at Hogwarts, but also in magical farms and herb gardens throughout wizarding communities. Apothecaries frequently stock dried valerian roots as part of their standard inventory, making it one of the more accessible magical herbs available to potion makers. Over centuries, the use of valerian has remained remarkably consistent. While potion recipes have evolved and new magical plants have been discovered, the calming properties of valerian root continue to make it a trusted ingredient. It serves as a reminder that magical plants do not always need dramatic qualities to be valuable. For students studying herbology, valerian offers an early lesson in the diversity of magical flora. Some plants scream when uprooted, others strike with venomous tendrils or release clouds of foul-smelling sap. Valerian, by contrast, grows quietly and offers its benefits without aggression or spectacle. Yet even within the peaceful world of magical herbs, there exist plants whose properties lean toward darker potion traditions. Certain herbs possess bitter qualities that make them particularly useful in powerful mixtures, especially those associated with transformation and sleep. Among these plants, one of the most notable is wormwood, a herb whose name appears in some of the most famous potion lessons taught at Hogwarts. Among the many herbs used in magical potion making, wormwood holds a particularly interesting place. At first glance, the plant appears rather ordinary. It grows as a slender herb with thin, greyish-green leaves and small clusters of flowers that are easily overlooked among more vibrant plants. Yet despite its modest appearance, wormwood carries a long history within magical botany and potion brewing. Wormwood is known primarily for its intensely bitter properties. Even in the non-magical world, the plant has been associated with strong flavors and medicinal uses. In the wizarding world, however, wormwood's importance goes far beyond its taste. The plant contains magical compounds that interact with other ingredients in powerful ways, making it a common component in several complex potions. The most famous reference to wormwood within Hogwarts education occurs during Harry Potter's first potions class. Professor Severus Snape asked Harry a question that many students would remember long afterward. He asked what would happen if powdered root of asphodel were added to an infusion of wormwood. The answer, which Harry did not know at the time, was that the mixture forms a potion known as the Draught of Living Death. This moment illustrates how wormwood often works in combination with other magical ingredients. On its own, the plant's magical properties are relatively simple. However, when paired with certain roots or herbs, it helps create potions capable of producing powerful effects on the human body and mind. The Draught of Living Death is perhaps the most famous example of wormwood's role in potion brewing. This potion is an extremely powerful sleeping draught that places the drinker into a deep, death-like sleep. Although the potion is not intended to cause permanent harm when brewed correctly, its strength requires precise preparation. Wormwood acts as one of the key ingredients that stabilizes the potion's magical structure. Because wormwood plays a role in potions associated with sleep and transformation, it has developed a somewhat somber reputation in magical symbolism. Some magical scholars associate the herb with themes of memory, regret, and reflection. These symbolic meanings likely grew from the plant's bitterness and its connection to potions that bring about deep unconsciousness. From a herbological perspective, wormwood is relatively easy to cultivate. The plant grows best in dry soil with moderate sunlight and does not require particularly complex care. Its hardy nature makes it suitable for cultivation in both magical greenhouses and outdoor herb gardens. Despite its resilience, herbologists still take care when harvesting wormwood leaves. The potency of the plant's magical compounds depends heavily on the stage of its growth cycle. Leaves collected too early may not contain enough magical essence, while leaves harvested too late can become overly bitter and lose some of their usefulness in potion mixtures. In Hogwarts herbology classes, wormwood is often introduced as one of the plants that students will later encounter in potion lessons. While the harvesting and preparation of the herb may seem simple, its role within potion brewing is far more complex. Students quickly learn that even small variations in ingredient preparation can change the outcome of a potion. The connection between wormwood and asphodel is one of the most well-known examples of how magical plants interact with one another in potion making. When powdered root of asphodel is combined with wormwood infusion, the resulting potion produces a powerful sleeping effect. This pairing demonstrates how magical plants often work together to produce results far greater than either ingredient could achieve alone. Wormwood, therefore, serves as a reminder that magical plants rarely exist in isolation within potion brewing. Many herbs are valued not just for their individual properties, but for how they interact with other magical ingredients. Potion makers spend years studying these interactions, learning which plants strengthen one another and which combinations must be avoided. The plant's strong bitterness also contributes to its magical effects. Some potion scholars believe that the intensity of wormwood's flavor reflects the strength of the magical compounds contained within its leaves. When brewed into potions, these compounds help control the flow of magical energy through the mixture, allowing the potion to achieve its intended effect. Because wormwood is widely cultivated, it has become a common ingredient in apothecaries throughout the wizarding world. Potion makers frequently keep dried wormwood leaves stored alongside other herbs, ready to be used whenever a recipe calls for it. Even outside of Hogwarts, the plant remains an essential part of magical brewing traditions. Historically, wormwood has also appeared in certain magical texts discussing the symbolic meaning of potion ingredients. In some traditions, the plant is associated with difficult truths or bitter memories. While these interpretations are largely cultural rather than scientific, they demonstrate how magical plants often acquire layers of meaning beyond their practical uses. For students learning about magical herbs, wormwood represents a step into more advanced potion knowledge. Unlike gentler plants such as valerian, which soothe and calm, wormwood participates in potions that can dramatically alter consciousness. Its presence in these mixtures reminds potion makers that magical plants can influence both the body and the mind. Even so, Wormwood remains a stable and dependable herb when handled properly. Its hardy nature and predictable growth patterns make it one of the more accessible magical plants studied in herbology. This reliability has allowed it to remain a staple ingredient in potion brewing for centuries. Through the study of plants like wormwood, witches and wizards begin to see how magical botany forms the foundation of many magical disciplines. A simple leaf growing quietly in a greenhouse may eventually become part of a potion capable of producing extraordinary effects. Yet wormwood rarely works alone in these mixtures. Its most famous partnership lies with another magical plant, whose roots carry their own powerful symbolism and magical properties. This plant, known as Asphodel, shares an important connection with wormwood in one of the most famous potions ever taught at Hogwarts. Closely connected to wormwood in magical potion traditions is another plant whose quiet appearance hides a deeper significance. This plant is known as Asphodel. Like wormwood, it may appear fairly ordinary at first glance, yet its roots hold important magical properties that have made it a staple ingredient in certain powerful potions. Asphodel grows as a tall flowering plant with long narrow leaves and pale blossoms that rise above the surrounding foliage. The plant's true value, however, lies beneath the soil. Its roots contain magical compounds that interact strongly with other potion ingredients, particularly when ground into fine powder and carefully prepared for brewing. In magical botany, the powdered root of asphodel is most often discussed in connection with wormwood infusion. Together, these two ingredients form the basis of one of the most well-known potions taught at Hogwarts, the Draught of Living Death. This potion is a powerful sleeping draught capable of placing the drinker into an extremely deep, almost death-like sleep. The connection between asphodel and wormwood became famous during the first potions lesson taught by Professor Severus Snape to Harry Potter's class. When Snape asked what would happen if powdered root of asphodel were added to an infusion of wormwood, the correct answer was the Draught of Living Death. While the question appeared simple, it represented the beginning of a much deeper understanding of potion ingredients. In potion brewing, the powdered root of asphodel provides an essential balancing component. When combined with wormwood, the magical properties of both plants interact in a way that stabilizes the potion's effects. Without this balance, the mixture might produce unpredictable or harmful results. Because of its importance in such potions, asphodel has been carefully cultivated by herbologists for generations. The plant thrives in soil that is rich but well drained, allowing its roots to grow thick and strong beneath the surface. Proper care ensures that the roots develop the magical potency required for potion making. Harvesting asphodel roots requires patience and attention to timing. Herbologists must wait until the plant reaches a specific stage of maturity before removing it from the soil. If harvested too early, the roots may not contain enough magical essence. If left too long, the root structure can become overly fibrous and lose some of its effectiveness when ground into powder. Once harvested, the roots are cleaned, dried, and prepared for grinding. The resulting powder becomes a valuable ingredient used in potion brewing classrooms and magical laboratories alike. Because the root must be finely powdered for many recipes, careful preparation is essential. Although asphodel is primarily valued for its practical use in potions, the plant has also developed symbolic associations within wizarding culture. In certain magical traditions, asphodel is connected with remembrance and reflection. This symbolism likely emerged from ancient beliefs that linked the plant with the afterlife and deep sleep. These symbolic meanings may help explain why the plant became associated with potions that induce powerful sleep. The Draught of Living Death, for example, produces a state that resembles death itself, though it is reversible when properly managed. The pairing of asphodel and wormwood within this potion has therefore been interpreted by some scholars as more than just a practical chemical interaction. In Hogwarts herbology classes, students studying magical plants often learn about asphodel as part of their preparation for advanced potion brewing. While the plant itself is not aggressive or dangerous, Its importance in complex potions means that students must understand how it grows and how its roots should be harvested. The study of Asphodel also highlights how magical plants frequently work in cooperation with one another. Rarely does a single plant produce a potion entirely on its own. Instead, potion brewing relies on combinations of ingredients whose magical properties interact in precise ways. This concept is central to both herbology and potion making. By studying the plants themselves, students begin to understand why certain ingredients appear repeatedly in potion recipes. Each plant contributes its own magical influence, and the balance between those influences determines the final effect. Asphodel's pale flowers and slender leaves may not draw as much attention as some more dramatic magical plants. It does not scream like a mandrake or snap its tendrils like a venomous tentacular. Yet its quiet role in potion brewing makes it just as important to the study of magical botany. In many ways, plants like Asphodel represent the quiet foundation of magical science. They grow steadily in greenhouse beds, providing the ingredients needed for complex magical mixtures. Without them, many of the potions that witches and wizards rely on would simply not be possible. The partnership between Asphodel and Wormwood is only one example of how magical plants combine to produce remarkable effects. Throughout the wizarding world, herbologists continue to study these interactions, exploring how roots, leaves, and flowers can influence magical energy when prepared correctly. And while Asphodel's role in sleep-inducing potions is well known, other magical plants have developed very different abilities. Some plants can transform the body itself, granting witches and wizards temporary powers that would otherwise be impossible. Among these unusual plants is one that allows a person to breathe beneath the surface of water, a plant known as Gillyweed. Among the many magical plants studied by herbologists, few demonstrate such dramatic effects on the human body as Gillyweed. Unlike many herbs that are used primarily in potion brewing, Gillyweed can produce its magical effects when consumed directly. For a limited time after eating the plant, the body undergoes a remarkable transformation that allows the person to breathe underwater. Gillyweed usually appears as a bundle of greyish-green stems and leaves that resemble a mixture of seaweed and slender grass. The plant grows naturally in aquatic environments, often along the edges of magical lakes or beneath the surface of calm water. Because of this habitat, herbologists often study Gillyweed in carefully controlled aquatic gardens or underwater cultivation areas. When eaten, the plant's magical properties activate quickly. Within moments, the person consuming it begins to experience physical changes designed to help them survive underwater. Gills form along the neck, allowing the body to extract oxygen directly from water. At the same time, the hands and feet develop webbing, which improves movement through water and provides greater control while swimming. These changes are temporary, but they are powerful enough to allow a witch or wizard to remain submerged for an extended period of time. Once the effects wear off, the body gradually returns to its normal state. The duration of the transformation depends on the amount of Gillyweed consumed and the freshness of the plant when it was eaten. The magical properties of Gillyweed make it extremely valuable in situations where underwater breathing is required. Unlike complex spells or potions, the plant provides a relatively simple solution that can be used even by those with limited magical skill. However, because its effects cannot easily be adjusted once activated, careful timing is important. One of the most famous uses of Gillyweed occurred during the Triwizard tournament held at Hogwarts. During the second task of the tournament, champions were required to dive into the depths of the Black Lake and retrieve something precious that had been hidden beneath the water. The challenge required the competitors to remain underwater for an extended period, making ordinary breathing impossible. Harry Potter, who had little experience with underwater magic, received Gillyweed shortly before the task began. When he consumed the plant, he quickly developed the gills and webbing necessary to navigate the lake. This allowed him to breathe underwater and swim more efficiently, enabling him to complete the task successfully. Although the transformation caused by Gillyweed can seem dramatic, herbologists have studied the plant carefully and determined that its effects are generally safe when used properly. The body adapts temporarily to the underwater environment and then gradually returns to normal once the magical compounds in the plant wear off. The exact mechanism by which Gillyweed produces this transformation remains a topic of interest among magical scholars. Some believe that the plant contains magical compounds that temporarily alter the body's ability to interact with water and oxygen. Others suggest that the plant carries a form of aquatic magic that briefly reshapes the body's natural structure. Because of these unusual properties, Gillyweed must be cultivated carefully. The plant grows best in environments that mimic its natural aquatic habitat. Magical gardeners often grow it in submerged containers or enchanted pools where the water conditions remain stable. Without sufficient water and magical nutrients, the plant may lose some of its potency. Harvesting Gillyweed also requires attention to timing. The plant must be collected while it is still fresh, as its magical properties gradually weaken once removed from water. Herbologists therefore store the harvested plant in damp conditions to preserve its effectiveness for as long as possible. In addition to its use in competitions like the Triwizard Tournament, Gillyweed has occasionally been used by magical explorers studying underwater environments. Some researchers investigating magical lakes, rivers, or coastal regions have relied on the plant to allow temporary underwater exploration without the need for complex breathing charms. Despite its usefulness, Gillyweed is not commonly used in everyday wizarding life. The transformation it produces can be somewhat uncomfortable for those unfamiliar with the sensation of developing gills and webbed limbs. For this reason, many witches and wizards prefer other methods of underwater breathing when available. Nevertheless, the plant remains an important example of how magical vegetation can influence the human body in remarkable ways. Unlike herbs used purely as potion ingredients, Gillyweed demonstrates that some magical plants are capable of producing direct transformations through simple consumption. Students studying herbology often find the plant particularly interesting because of its dramatic effects. It represents a category of magical plants whose abilities extend beyond healing or potion making and into the realm of physical transformation. Like many magical plants, however, Gillyweed is only one part of a much larger world of enchanted vegetation. While some plants grant temporary abilities or influence the body's functions, others possess magical properties that affect the size and structure of objects used in potion brewing. One such plant, known for its unusual fruit and its role in shrinking mixtures, is the magical herb called the Shrivelfig. Among the magical plants cultivated by herbologists, some produce fruits or roots that influence the physical properties of objects or substances. One such plant is the Shrivelfig. Although its name may sound somewhat unusual, the plant itself has become a familiar ingredient within potion brewing, particularly in mixtures that involve shrinking or reducing the size of objects. The Shrivelfig grows as a small magical plant with broad leaves and dark-colored fruit that resemble ordinary figs in shape. Unlike non-magical fig trees, however, the Shrivelfig plant is much smaller and easier to cultivate in greenhouse environments. Its fruits develop along short stems and contain magical compounds that can alter size when properly prepared. The key magical property of the Shrivelfig lies in the flesh of its fruit. When the fruit is harvested and processed into potion ingredients, it releases magical elements that encourage contraction or reduction. This makes it an important component in shrinking solutions, a category of potions designed to reduce the size of objects or creatures temporarily. Students studying potion brewing at Hogwarts often encounter Shrivelfigs during lessons involving shrinking potions. In these classes, the fruit is typically chopped or crushed before being added to a brewing mixture. The preparation must be done carefully, as the condition of the fruit can influence the strength of the potion. One detail that potion instructors often emphasize is the importance of using the correct stage of ripeness when harvesting Shrivelfigs. Unripe fruit may produce weak results in potion brewing, while overripe fruit can introduce unpredictable magical effects. Herbologists therefore monitor the plant carefully as the fruit develops, ensuring that it is collected at the most suitable time. The Shrivelfig plant itself grows best in warm greenhouse conditions with well-nourished soil. Because the plant is relatively small, it is often cultivated in rows within controlled herbology beds. This makes it easy for students and herbologists to observe its growth and harvest the fruit when needed. Despite its usefulness, the Shrivelfig is not considered a dangerous magical plant. It does not possess defensive vines or toxic sap, and it generally remains stable when handled properly. This makes it an ideal plant for students who are still developing their understanding of magical botany. However, like many magical plants, the Shrivelfig still requires careful handling. If the fruit is mishandled during harvesting, it can release small bursts of magical energy that may temporarily shrink nearby objects in unpredictable ways. While such incidents are rarely harmful, they can cause confusion if tools or potion ingredients suddenly change size. The magical shrinking properties associated with Shrivelfigs are believed to come from the plant's natural connection to spatial magic. Some herbologists suggest that the fruit contains compounds capable of influencing the way magical energy interacts with physical matter. When introduced into a potion, these compounds help reshape the magical structure of the mixture, allowing it to affect the size of objects. Because of this unusual ability, Shrivelfigs have been studied extensively by potion masters interested in size-altering magic. While shrinking potions are among the most common uses of the fruit, some experimental potion recipes have explored other possibilities as well. In certain mixtures, Shrivelfig extracts have been used to compress magical energy within a potion, making the effects more concentrated. Within Hogwarts, Shrivelfigs are often grown alongside other potion ingredients in the greenhouses maintained by the herbology professor. Students studying the plant learn how to recognize the fruit at different stages of development and how to harvest it without damaging the plant itself. The plant's name comes from the distinctive appearance of the fruit once it has been fully harvested and dried. As the fruit loses moisture, its surface wrinkles and contracts, giving it a shriveled appearance. This visual change likely contributed to the plant's association with shrinking magic. Although Shrivelfigs are mainly used in potion brewing, they also serve as an example of how magical plants can influence physical reality in subtle ways. The plant does not attack or defend itself aggressively, yet the magical properties hidden within its fruit are capable of altering the size of objects when properly applied. Herbology students often find the plant particularly interesting because it demonstrates how magical plants interact with other branches of magic. The simple act of harvesting fruit from a greenhouse plant can eventually lead to a potion capable of transforming the size of objects in remarkable ways. Like many magical plants, the Shrivelfig contributes quietly to the daily workings of wizarding society. Potion makers rely on its fruit for certain recipes, and magical researchers continue to study its properties in hopes of understanding how plants can influence spatial magic. The plant's stable behavior also makes it a useful teaching tool in herbology classes. By working with Shrivelfigs, students gain experience in harvesting magical fruit and preparing it for use in potions. These lessons reinforce the idea that magical plants must be treated carefully if their properties are to be preserved. Despite its relatively calm nature, the Shrivelfig represents only one part of the vast range of magical vegetation found throughout the wizarding world. Some magical plants influence potions, others affect the body directly, and a few grow into forms so large and powerful that they resemble enchanted trees rather than ordinary plants. One such example stands at the edge of the Hogwarts grounds, a tree whose violent movements have become legendary among students. Known as the Whomping Willow, this magical tree demonstrates that not all magical plants remain quietly rooted in place. Among the many magical plants that exist in the wizarding world, some grow so large and powerful that they are better described as magical trees rather than simple herbs. One of the most famous examples of such a plant stands on the grounds of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This tree is known as the Whomping Willow, and it has earned its reputation as one of the most dangerous pieces of magical vegetation ever cultivated near a school. At first glance, the Whomping Willow appears similar to an ordinary willow tree. Its trunk rises from the ground with rough bark, and long branches stretch outward with hanging leaves that sway in the wind. However, anyone who approaches the tree quickly discovers that it behaves very differently from a normal plant. The moment something enters the area around its trunk, the branches begin to move violently. The limbs of the Whomping Willow swing with remarkable speed and strength, striking the ground and anything nearby with heavy blows. These movements are not random. The tree appears to react directly to motion, as though it senses the presence of nearby creatures. Anyone foolish enough to walk too close risks being struck by the powerful branches, which can easily knock a person to the ground or send them running for safety. The tree's aggressive behavior has made it both famous and feared among Hogwarts students. New arrivals often learn about the Whomping Willow early in their time at the school, usually through warnings from older students or professors. Although it may seem tempting to approach such an unusual tree, the consequences of doing so are quickly made clear. Despite its violent nature, the Whomping Willow was not planted at Hogwarts as a threat. In fact, its presence on the grounds serves a very specific purpose connected to an important piece of wizarding history. The tree was planted during the time when Remus Lupin attended Hogwarts as a student. Remus Lupin carried a secret that made attending Hogwarts particularly dangerous during certain times of the month. Lupin was a werewolf, and during the full moon, he would transform into a creature capable of harming anyone nearby. In order to protect other students, while still allowing Lupin to receive an education, the Hogwarts staff created a solution. A tunnel was constructed beneath the school grounds, leading from the edge of the forest to a remote building known as the Shrieking Shack in the nearby village of Hogsmeade. During each full moon, Lupin could travel through this tunnel and transform safely inside the abandoned house, far away from other students. To ensure that no one accidentally discovered the entrance to the tunnel, the Whomping Willow was planted directly above it. The tree's violent branches prevented anyone from approaching the area safely. Even the most curious students quickly learned that coming near the tree was extremely risky. Hidden beneath the tree's roots was a small knot in the trunk that served as a control point. If this knot was pressed with a long stick or branch, the tree would temporarily stop moving, allowing someone to pass safely beneath its branches. This clever mechanism allowed Lupin and his friends to reach the tunnel entrance without being struck by the tree. Although the Whomping Willow was originally planted for this purpose, it remained on the Hogwarts grounds long after Lupin left the school. Over time, it became a permanent part of the landscape, standing as both a defensive barrier and a reminder of the strange ways magical plants can be used to solve unusual problems. From a herbological perspective, the Whomping Willow represents an example of a magical tree whose behavior is closely tied to defensive instincts. Like many aggressive magical plants, it responds to nearby motion. However, the scale of its reactions is far greater than that of most plants studied in greenhouses. The tree's powerful branches suggest that its magical energy is deeply integrated into its physical structure. Rather than producing venom or releasing spores, the Whomping Willow uses its size and strength to protect itself. The swinging limbs act almost like arms, striking anything that enters its territory. Herbologists studying magical trees have noted that plants of this size often develop more complex responses to their environment. While smaller magical plants rely on simpler defensive reactions, large magical trees may display behaviors that appear almost deliberate. The Whomping Willow's precise reactions to movement are a good example of this phenomenon. Despite its dangerous reputation, the tree is rarely considered malicious. Like many magical plants, it simply reacts according to its natural instincts. When left undisturbed, the tree behaves much like an ordinary willow, its branches swaying gently in the wind and its leaves rustling softly. It is only when something approaches too closely that the tree's defensive behavior begins. This reaction has led many students to believe that the tree is actively hostile, but herbologists understand that it is simply protecting the area around its roots. The presence of the Whomping Willow at Hogwarts also demonstrates that magical plants can serve purposes beyond potion ingredients or healing remedies. In some cases, plants can act as guardians or barriers, using their natural magical abilities to defend specific locations. Throughout the wizarding world, other magical trees have been cultivated for similar reasons. Some are grown near magical settlements to discourage intruders, while others protect entrances to hidden locations. These plants combine the natural resilience of trees with the unpredictable qualities of magical energy. For Hogwarts students, the Whomping Willow remains one of the most memorable features of the school grounds. Its violent movements and mysterious history make it a constant source of curiosity and caution. Even after learning the secret of the knot that can stop its branches, most students prefer to admire the tree from a safe distance. The study of magical trees, like the Whomping Willow, also reminds herbologists that magic does not affect only small plants or delicate herbs. Entire trees can become infused with magical properties, transforming familiar parts of the natural world into something extraordinary. Beyond the swinging branches of the Whomping Willow, other magical trees possess far more subtle powers. Some do not strike at intruders or hide secret tunnels, but instead produce wood that becomes one of the most important components of magical tools. Among these trees are species whose wood carries unique magical qualities, making them especially valuable in the creation of one of the most essential instruments in wizarding life, the wand. While some magical trees defend themselves with violent movement or unusual magical behavior, others possess qualities that are far less dramatic but equally important to the wizarding world. Certain trees grow wood that carries natural magical properties, making them especially valuable in the creation of wands. Among these trees are species such as the silver lime, a magical tree known for producing wood with distinctive magical characteristics. The silver lime tree grows tall and elegant, with pale bark and leaves that shimmer slightly when touched by light. Its name comes from the silvery color that appears along the underside of its leaves. In ordinary forests, the tree might be mistaken for a particularly healthy lime tree. Yet herbologists and wand makers recognize it immediately as one of the many trees capable of producing wandwood. Unlike aggressive magical plants such as the Venomous Tentacular or the Whomping Willow, the silver lime tree does not display obvious defensive behaviors. It grows quietly, drawing magical energy from the surrounding environment through its roots and branches. Over time, this energy becomes infused within the structure of the wood itself. Wand makers have long believed that certain types of wood possess natural affinities for magical energy. These affinities influence how a wand behaves once it is paired with a magical core and placed in the hands of a witch or wizard. Because of this, the selection of wandwood is an important part of wand lore. Silver limewood has developed a particular reputation among wand makers for its subtle connection to prophetic or intuitive magic. Wands crafted from this wood are sometimes associated with witches and wizards who possess strong instincts or a heightened awareness of magical patterns. Although not every wand made from silver lime will display these qualities, the wood is often chosen for individuals who demonstrate unusual sensitivity to magical forces. The cultivation of silver lime trees is therefore of great interest not only to herbologists but also to wand makers. Wand makers such as Garrick Ollivander study magical trees carefully, selecting wood that has grown under favorable magical conditions. Trees that absorb steady magical energy over many years often produce the most suitable wandwood. Growing a tree capable of producing wand-quality wood requires patience. Magical trees like the silver lime must mature slowly, allowing the magical energy within their fibers to develop naturally. Cutting the wood too early can result in a wand that lacks stability or power. For this reason, herbologists and magical foresters often maintain protected groves where such trees can grow undisturbed. These groves are sometimes hidden within magical forests where the surrounding environment provides a rich source of magical energy. The presence of nearby magical creatures or ancient magical sites may also influence the strength of the wood. The relationship between magical trees and wand making demonstrates how herbology connects to other branches of wizarding knowledge. While wand makers are responsible for crafting the finished wand, the quality of the wood depends entirely on the health and maturity of the tree from which it came. Herbologists therefore play an indirect but important role in the creation of wands. By studying magical trees and ensuring that they grow under proper conditions, they help preserve the supply of wood needed for wand making. Without healthy magical forests, wand makers would struggle to obtain suitable materials. Silver lime is only one example among many magical trees used in wand construction. Other species include oak, holly, yew, and beech, each with its own magical qualities. The differences between these woods can influence how a wand responds to spells and how it interacts with its owner. In wand lore, it is often said that the wand chooses the wizard. Part of this mysterious process depends on the magical compatibility between the wizard and the wand's components. The wood, having absorbed magical energy during its growth, contributes to this compatibility in subtle ways. Because magical trees grow slowly and absorb environmental magic over time, each piece of wandwood carries a unique history. A tree growing near ancient magical ruins may develop slightly different properties from one growing in a quiet valley. Wand makers take these variations into account when selecting wood for new wands. Despite their importance, magical trees like the silver lime rarely attract the same attention as more dramatic plants. They do not lash out with vines or release poisonous sap. Instead, they grow quietly for decades, storing magical energy within their wood until the moment when that wood is transformed into a wand. This quiet transformation highlights one of the most fascinating aspects of magical botany. Plants that appear calm and unremarkable may still possess extraordinary potential. A simple tree growing peacefully in a forest can eventually become a wand capable of casting powerful spells. For Hogwarts students studying herbology, magical trees offer an opportunity to see how plant life contributes to the tools used in everyday wizarding life. While the greenhouses focus on herbs and potion ingredients, the forests surrounding the school contain trees whose magical properties extend far beyond the study of plants alone. The connection between magical trees and wand making also demonstrates how different magical disciplines depend on one another. Herbology, wand lore, and magical forestry all overlap in the study of these remarkable plants. And yet, trees used in wand making represent only part of the larger world of magical flora. Many other plants are cultivated specifically for potion ingredients, their leaves and stems contributing to mixtures that can alter the body, the mind, or even a person's identity. Among the most famous of these potion plants is one whose harvesting must occur during a very specific moment in time, under the light of a full moon. This plant is known as Fluxweed. Among the many magical plants connected to wand making and magical forests, the study of wandwoods has developed into its own specialized branch of magical knowledge. While herbology focuses on the cultivation and care of magical plants, wand lore examines how certain trees produce wood capable of channeling magical power. The relationship between these two fields reveals how deeply magical plants are woven into the tools witches and wizards rely on every day. Wands are perhaps the most recognizable magical instruments in the wizarding world. Nearly every witch or wizard carries one, and each wand is crafted from a specific combination of magical wood and a magical core. The core may come from a magical creature such as a phoenix feather, unicorn hair, or dragon heartstring. The wood, however, always comes from a magical tree whose natural properties influence the wand's behavior. Not every tree is suitable for wand making. Ordinary wood lacks the magical resonance required to channel spells effectively. Certain magical trees, however, absorb magical energy as they grow. Over many years, this energy becomes embedded within the fibers of the wood, allowing it to respond to the magical ability of the witch or wizard who eventually wields the wand. Herbologists who study magical forests have identified dozens of trees capable of producing Wandwood. Each species carries its own magical characteristics. Some woods are known for strength and stability, while others respond more strongly to intuition or creative magic. The nature of the wood can subtly influence the wand's performance. One of the most famous wandwoods is holly. Holly trees grow throughout many magical forests and produce wood known for its protective qualities. Wands crafted from holly are often associated with witches and wizards who face dangerous challenges or possess a strong sense of moral purpose. The wood itself appears bright and resilient, reflecting the tree's reputation for endurance. Another well-known wandwood is oak. Oak trees are strong, long-lived, and deeply connected to the earth through their extensive root systems. Wands made from oak are often described as powerful and dependable. They are said to bond strongly with witches and wizards who possess courage, loyalty, and a strong connection to nature. Yew wood has developed a far more mysterious reputation. Yew trees are ancient and often associated with powerful magic. Some of the most formidable wands in wizarding history have been crafted from yew. Because the tree is connected to both life and death in magical symbolism, wands made from yew are sometimes linked with witches and wizards who possess exceptional magical ability. Beech is another tree frequently used in wand making. Beechwood tends to suit individuals who are thoughtful, curious, and intellectually inclined. Wand makers often describe beech wands as responsive to those who value knowledge and exploration. The wood itself grows smoothly and evenly, producing wands that are both elegant and balanced. Maplewood, known for its bright grain and smooth texture, has also been used for many wand designs. Wands made from maple are believed to favor ambitious witches and wizards who enjoy traveling and seeking new magical experiences. The wood responds well to spells, requiring precision and adaptability. These examples represent only a small portion of the magical trees studied by wand makers. Many other species have been identified, each with its own subtle magical qualities. Hazel, cherry, willow, and ash are just a few of the woods known to produce reliable wand materials. The process of selecting wandwood begins long before the wand itself is crafted. Magical trees must grow for many years before their wood develops the magical resonance needed for wand making. Herbologists and magical foresters therefore monitor these trees carefully, ensuring that they grow in environments rich with magical energy. Certain locations are especially suitable for cultivating wand trees. Ancient magical forests often contain areas where magical energy flows more strongly through the soil and air. Trees growing in these regions absorb this energy naturally as they mature. The result is wood that carries a stronger magical presence. Wand makers, like Garrick Ollivander, rely on this natural process when selecting materials. Rather than forcing magic into the wood, they choose branches that have developed magical qualities on their own. This approach allows the wand to retain the natural balance between wood and magical core. The cutting of wandwood is treated with great care. Branches must be removed without harming the health of the tree, and the wood is then allowed to dry under controlled conditions. During this time, the magical properties within the wood stabilize, preparing it for the final stages of wand construction. Even after the wood is prepared, the wand itself is not complete until it has been paired with a suitable core. The interaction between wood and core creates the wand's final magical personality. A phoenix feather may amplify creativity, while unicorn hair may produce consistent and reliable magic. The wood helps guide how that magic flows. Herbology students studying magical plants may not immediately realize how closely their subject connects to wand making. Yet every wand begins its existence as part of a living tree, growing quietly in a magical forest. Without these trees, wand makers would have no material capable of channeling spells effectively. The study of Wandwoods therefore reminds witches and wizards that magical plants are not limited to potion ingredients or defensive vines. Entire forests contribute to the tools that shape magical society. Each wand carried by a witch or wizard represents a piece of living magical history that once grew beneath open skies. Although Wandwoods represent one of the most important uses of magical trees, the world of magical plants continues far beyond forests and wand making. Many plants remain closely tied to potion brewing, especially those that require very specific conditions to develop their magical properties. Among these potion plants is one that must be harvested at a precise moment beneath the light of a full moon. This plant is known as Fluxweed, and its role in certain transformative potions makes it one of the most carefully cultivated herbs in magical greenhouses. Among the many magical herbs cultivated for potion brewing, few require timing as precise as Fluxweed. Unlike most plants, which can be harvested whenever they reach maturity, Fluxweed must be gathered during a very specific moment in its growth cycle. If harvested at the wrong time, the plant loses the magical qualities that make it useful. Because of this, herbologists who grow Fluxweed must pay careful attention to the movement of the moon. Fluxweed grows as a tall, delicate plant with narrow leaves and thin stems that sway easily in the air. The plant's appearance is not particularly dramatic. It resembles a slightly elongated herb with pale green foliage and small budding shoots along its stem. Yet within these simple leaves lies a magical property that becomes active only during a full moon. During the night of the full moon, Fluxweed absorbs a surge of magical energy from its surroundings. Herbologists believe that the plant has developed a natural sensitivity to lunar cycles. When the moon reaches its brightest phase, the magical compounds within the plant become fully active. This brief moment is when the leaves contain the magical potency required for potion brewing. If the plant is harvested at any other time, the magical reaction does not occur. The leaves may appear healthy, but they will lack the special properties needed for certain potions. This makes Fluxweed one of the most time-sensitive plants studied in herbology. The most famous use of Fluxweed is in the polyjuice potion, a complex potion that allows the drinker to temporarily transform into another person. The potion requires many ingredients, each contributing to the delicate magical balance needed for such a powerful transformation. Fluxweed serves as one of the key herbal components in this mixture. Because the potion alters a person's physical appearance completely, every ingredient must be prepared with great precision. The Fluxweed used in polyjuice potion must be harvested during the full moon to ensure that its magical properties are active. Without properly prepared Fluxweed, the potion would fail to produce the desired transformation. Students studying advanced potion brewing eventually learn about this requirement when examining the polyjuice recipe. Although younger students rarely work with such complex potions, the presence of Fluxweed in the ingredient list often sparks curiosity about how magical plants interact with lunar cycles. The connection between Fluxweed and the moon has fascinated herbologists for centuries. Some scholars believe that the plant absorbs subtle magical radiation emitted by the full moon. Others suggest that Fluxweed's roots interact with the surrounding magical environment in a way that allows lunar magic to accumulate within its leaves. Whatever the true explanation may be, the result is clear. Fluxweed, harvested at the right moment, contains magical properties capable of supporting one of the most advanced transformation potions known to witches and wizards. Growing Fluxweed in magical greenhouses requires careful planning. Herbologists must ensure that the plants reach maturity shortly before the night of a full moon. If the plants are not ready in time, the opportunity to harvest them at their peak magical strength may be lost until the next lunar cycle. For this reason, Fluxweed is often cultivated in well-organized planting schedules. Herbologists track the phases of the moon and plan their planting accordingly, ensuring that each crop will be ready for harvest when the full moon arrives. This careful timing demonstrates the patience required when working with magical plants. On the night of the full moon, herbologists gather to harvest the leaves quickly and efficiently. The process must be completed before the lunar phase begins to fade. Once collected, the leaves are dried and preserved so that they can be used later in potion brewing. Although the plant itself does not possess defensive abilities like many other magical species, its connection to lunar magic gives it a unique place within magical botany. Fluxweed shows that magical plants do not always rely on physical defenses or dramatic behaviors. Sometimes, their importance lies in the quiet ways they interact with natural magical cycles. The study of Fluxweed also reveals how closely magical plants can be tied to celestial events. Just as tides rise and fall with the moon in the non-magical world, certain magical plants respond to the moon's presence with changes in their own magical energy. For students studying herbology, Fluxweed represents an introduction to this deeper connection between magical plants and the larger magical environment. It demonstrates that time, location, and natural forces can influence how plants develop their magical properties. Potion makers who rely on Fluxweed must trust that herbologists have harvested the plant at the correct moment. Without that careful preparation, even the most skilled potion brewer would struggle to produce the desired results. In this way, Fluxweed highlights the collaboration between herbology and potion making. The success of complex potions depends not only on brewing skill, but also on the careful cultivation of magical plants. Each ingredient carries its own conditions and requirements that must be respected. Despite its delicate nature, Fluxweed plays a crucial role in one of the most powerful transformation potions ever studied at Hogwarts. Its quiet leaves, harvested under moonlight, contribute to a magical process capable of altering identity itself. Yet Fluxweed is not the only plant used in the preparation of polyjuice potion. Another herb also plays an important role in the mixture, one whose tangled growth pattern and unusual magical properties make it a distinctive part of magical greenhouses. This plant is known as Notgrass. Among the ingredients used in complex magical potions, Notgrass is another plant closely associated with transformation magic. While it does not possess dramatic abilities when handled on its own, it plays a crucial role in certain advanced potion recipes. Like Fluxweed, Notgrass is one of the key herbal components used in the creation of polyjuice potion, a potion capable of temporarily transforming the drinker into another person. Notgrass grows as a low, tangled plant with thin stems that twist and spread across the ground. The stems often weave around one another, forming small knots or loops that give the plant its name. The leaves are narrow and clustered along the stems, creating a dense mat of green growth close to the soil. At first glance, Notgrass may appear unremarkable compared to some of the more unusual magical plants found in wizarding greenhouses. It does not snap its vines like the Venomous Tentacular or scream like the Mandrake. However, the plant's magical properties become important when it is used in potion brewing. The leaves and stems of Notgrass contain subtle, magical compounds that assist in stabilizing transformation magic. When added to a brewing mixture such as polyjuice potion, the plant helps guide the magical energy involved in altering physical appearance. Without Notgrass, the potion would struggle to maintain a stable transformation. Potion makers often describe Notgrass as a supporting ingredient rather than a dominant one. Its magical properties do not produce dramatic effects on their own. Instead, they interact quietly with other ingredients in the potion, helping maintain the delicate balance required for transformation. The importance of Notgrass becomes clear when examining the complexity of polyjuice potion itself. This potion requires numerous ingredients that must be prepared over a long period of time. Each component contributes a specific magical property, and even small mistakes in preparation can cause the potion to fail. Notgrass plays a role in ensuring that the transformation remains stable once the potion is consumed. It helps regulate the magical process that reshapes the drinker's physical form. Without this stabilizing influence, the transformation might become incomplete or unpredictable. Because of its role in such advanced potion brewing, Notgrass is typically studied by students who have already gained some experience with magical herbs. Although the plant itself is not dangerous, its connection to complex potions makes it part of more advanced magical lessons. Cultivating Notgrass is relatively straightforward compared to many magical plants. The herb grows well in loose soil with moderate moisture and partial sunlight. Because the stems tend to spread outward along the ground, herbologists often allow the plant plenty of space to expand naturally. Harvesting Notgrass requires careful trimming of the stems and leaves without disturbing the roots. If the plant is damaged during harvesting, its magical properties may weaken. For this reason, herbologists often use small cutting tools rather than pulling the plant directly from the soil. Once harvested, Notgrass is usually dried before being added to potion mixtures. Drying the plant allows its magical compounds to concentrate slightly, improving its effectiveness when used in brewing. The dried stems can then be crushed or chopped according to the specific potion recipe. Although Notgrass is not particularly rare, its importance in transformation potions means that herbologists maintain a steady supply of it in magical greenhouses. Hogwarts students studying herbology often encounter the plant while learning how potion ingredients are cultivated and prepared. The tangled growth pattern of Notgrass has also led to interesting observations among magical botanists. Some scholars believe that the plant's knotted stems reflect the way its magical energy interacts with transformation magic. The twisting structure may help channel magical forces in a way that supports the reshaping of physical form. This idea remains largely theoretical, but it demonstrates how herbologists often look for connections between a plant's physical appearance and its magical behavior. In the case of Notgrass, the tangled stems seem fitting for a plant involved in complex transformations. Students learning about Polyjuice Potion quickly discover how delicate the brewing process can be. The potion requires several rare ingredients, precise timing, and weeks of careful preparation. Notgrass, though simple in appearance, plays a quiet but essential role within this complicated mixture. The plant therefore serves as another example of how magical herbs contribute to the broader world of magic. Even a small cluster of tangled stems growing quietly in a greenhouse can become part of a potion capable of transforming one person into another. For herbologists, Notgrass represents the subtle side of magical botany. It does not defend itself aggressively, nor does it produce striking physical effects. Instead, its value lies in the way it interacts with other ingredients, supporting magical processes that might otherwise fail. This quiet reliability makes Notgrass a trusted ingredient among potion makers. Generations of witches and wizards have relied on the plant's stabilizing properties when brewing transformation potions. Yet Notgrass is not the only ingredient involved in such mixtures. Some potion recipes also include elements that blur the line between magical plants and magical creatures. In the case of Polyjuice Potion, one of the ingredients comes from a small magical insect whose wings play a role in the potion's final effect. Although not a plant in the traditional sense, this unusual ingredient is often studied alongside magical herbs because of its role in potion brewing. These delicate creatures are known as lacewing flies. Within the study of magical ingredients, the boundary between plants and creatures occasionally becomes blurred. While herbology primarily focuses on magical vegetation, potion brewing often requires materials gathered from many parts of the magical world. Some ingredients originate from plants, while others come from insects or magical creatures whose properties complement the effects of certain herbs. One such ingredient, closely associated with plant-based potion mixtures, is the lacewing fly. The lacewing fly is a small magical insect known for its delicate wings and faint green coloration. In appearance, it resembles certain insects found in the non-magical world, with thin, transparent wings and a slender body. Yet despite its fragile appearance, the lacewing fly plays a significant role in several magical potions. Unlike many magical creatures, lacewing flies do not display particularly unusual behavior while alive. They are quiet insects that spend most of their time near plant life, especially in gardens and magical forests where herbs and flowers grow in abundance. Herbologists often encounter them while tending greenhouse plants or studying magical ecosystems. The connection between lacewing flies and herbology arises largely because of their role in potion ingredients that are prepared alongside magical plants. One of the most famous examples occurs again in the brewing of polyjuice potion. In this complex mixture, stewed lacewing flies are added to the potion to assist in stabilizing the magical transformation process. When prepared correctly, the insects contribute magical compounds that interact with other ingredients within the potion. These compounds help support the delicate magical balance required to alter a person's physical form temporarily. Without the addition of stewed lacewing flies, the potion would struggle to achieve the full transformation effect. Although the insects themselves are not plants, they are often studied alongside magical herbs because of their close ecological relationship with plant life. Lacewing flies are frequently found in environments where magical plants grow, feeding on small organisms that inhabit leaves and stems. In this way, they become part of the same magical ecosystem that herbologists study. The preparation of lacewing flies for potion use involves careful collection and preservation. Potion makers typically stew the insects before adding them to a mixture. This process allows their magical properties to dissolve into the brewing liquid, releasing the compounds necessary for the potion's effect. Students studying advanced potion making eventually learn about lacewing flies during lessons involving complex brewing techniques. Because the ingredient must be stewed before use, it introduces an additional step into the potion preparation process. This reinforces the idea that magical potions often rely on ingredients from both plant and creature sources. From a herbological perspective, the presence of lacewing flies in magical gardens is usually considered beneficial. The insects help maintain balance by feeding on smaller pests that might otherwise damage delicate magical plants. In this sense, lacewing flies act as natural guardians of greenhouse environments. Herbologists who cultivate magical plants sometimes encourage the presence of these insects in controlled areas. By maintaining a balanced ecosystem, they can protect valuable herbs without relying on harmful magical treatments. This natural relationship between plant and insect demonstrates how magical ecosystems often regulate themselves. The study of lacewing flies also highlights an important lesson for students learning about magical ingredients. Not every component in a potion comes directly from a plant. Some ingredients originate from creatures that interact with plants in complex ways. Understanding these relationships allows witches and wizards to see how different forms of magic work together. Although lacewing flies are relatively small and quiet creatures, their contribution to potion brewing should not be underestimated. In complex mixtures like polyjuice potion, every ingredient plays a role in shaping the final magical effect. Removing even a single component could disrupt the delicate balance required for success. Because of their importance in potion making, lacewing flies are sometimes cultivated in magical environments where they can reproduce safely. Herbologists may create enclosed garden spaces where both plants and insects can thrive together. These spaces mimic the natural conditions found in magical forests and meadows. Within Hogwarts, students occasionally encounter lacewing flies while working in the greenhouses or nearby gardens. The insects may hover gently among the plants, almost unnoticed unless someone looks closely. Their presence serves as a reminder that magical ingredients often originate from the living world around them. Despite their small size, lacewing flies contribute to one of the most advanced potions taught at Hogwarts. Their role in transformation magic shows how even the tiniest creatures can influence powerful magical processes. The connection between plants and insects within magical ecosystems continues to fascinate herbologists and magical scholars alike. Each species, whether plant or creature, plays a role in maintaining the balance of magical environments. While lacewing flies demonstrate how small creatures support potion brewing, the wizarding world also contains plants whose size and aggression make them far more difficult to manage. Some magical trees produce dangerous pods and defensive vines capable of attacking anyone who approaches too closely. Among these formidable plants is a tree known for its violent reactions and thick twisting branches, a plant called the Snargaluff. Among the many magical plants studied in herbology, some are known not only for their unusual appearance, but also for the difficulty involved in harvesting their useful parts. One such plant is the Snargaluff tree, a magical tree whose tangled branches and defensive behavior make it one of the more challenging plants for students to work with safely. The Snargaluff tree is not particularly tall compared to other magical trees, but it is extremely dense. Its trunk is thick and twisted, and its branches grow in tight spirals that often curl around one another. These branches form a tangled mass that can make the tree appear almost like a giant knot of wood and vines. Beneath this tangled structure grow the tree's most valuable features, thick pods that contain magical seeds and substances used in potion brewing. From a distance, the Snargaluff tree may appear motionless. However, anyone approaching it quickly discovers that the tree reacts strongly when disturbed. The branches twist and lash outward with surprising force, striking at anything that comes too close. This defensive reaction makes harvesting the pods from the tree a difficult task. Herbologists believe that the Snargaluff evolved this aggressive defense to protect its pods from creatures that might attempt to feed on them. The pods contain valuable magical compounds, and many magical creatures would likely consume them if the tree did not protect them so fiercely. Over time, the tree developed a natural reaction that causes its branches to move rapidly when the trunk is shaken or touched. The pods themselves are thick and round, with tough outer shells that protect the contents inside. When opened carefully, they reveal seeds and fibrous material that can be used in certain magical potions. These ingredients are sometimes described as having restorative or strengthening properties when properly prepared. Because of the tree's defensive behavior, harvesting Snargaluff pods requires teamwork and careful planning. Herbologists must approach the tree cautiously, often working in groups so that one person can distract the branches while another retrieves the pods. This process can be unpredictable, as the branches may twist suddenly and attempt to strike anyone within reach. Students studying herbology at Hogwarts sometimes encounter the Snargaluff tree during more advanced lessons. By the time they are introduced to the plant, they have already learned basic handling techniques for less aggressive magical plants. Even so, the Snargaluff tree remains a challenging specimen to manage. In one well-known herbology lesson taught by Professor Pomona Sprout, students were instructed to harvest pods from a Snargaluff tree growing within the Hogwarts greenhouses. The exercise required them to work together, shaking the tree carefully while attempting to collect the pods before the branches could strike them. The activity demonstrated both the plant's aggressive behavior and the importance of teamwork in herbology. Despite its violent reactions, the Snargaluff tree is not considered malicious. Like many magical plants, it is simply defending itself against disturbance. When left undisturbed, the tree remains still, its tangled branches resting quietly around the trunk. It is only when the tree senses movement or pressure that the branches begin to lash outward. Herbologists studying the tree have noted that its movements appear to originate from subtle magical energy stored within its fibers. This energy allows the branches to move rapidly, even though the tree lacks muscles or joints like those found in animals. The exact mechanism behind this movement remains a subject of ongoing research. Cultivating a Snargaluff tree in a greenhouse environment requires strong containment measures. The tree must be planted in an area with enough space for its branches to move freely without striking nearby plants or structures. Protective barriers are often placed around the tree to prevent accidental contact. The tree also requires nutrient-rich soil and a steady supply of moisture to remain healthy. Herbologists monitor its growth carefully, ensuring that the tree receives enough space to expand its tangled branches without interfering with other plants. Because of its aggressive defenses, the Snargaluff tree is rarely grown outside controlled environments. In the wild, the tree typically grows in remote magical forests, where it can remain undisturbed. Only experienced herbologists or potion ingredient collectors attempt to harvest pods from these wild trees. The materials found inside the pods have attracted interest from potion makers who value the plant's magical compounds. When prepared correctly, the seeds and fibers can be used to strengthen certain potion mixtures. However, harvesting these ingredients requires patience and skill due to the tree's defensive behavior. For students learning about magical plants, the Snargaluff tree represents an important step in understanding how plants can protect themselves in unusual ways. Unlike vines that constrict or roots that scream, the Snargaluff uses movement and physical force to defend its valuable pods. The experience of working with such a plant teaches young witches and wizards to respect the unpredictable nature of magical vegetation. Herbology is not simply about identifying plants or collecting ingredients. It also requires awareness, cooperation, and careful observation of how plants react to their surroundings. The tangled branches of the Snargaluff tree therefore serve as a reminder that magical plants often possess behaviors that resemble those of living creatures. Even though they are rooted in the soil, they are far from passive. Beyond the twisting limbs of the Snargaluff tree, herbologists have discovered many other plants with unusual feeding habits and defensive abilities. Some magical plants even resemble carnivorous species, capable of trapping insects or small creatures that wander too close. These predatory plants represent another fascinating category within magical botany, where vines, pods, and leaves work together in ways that resemble the behavior of hunting animals. Among the many strange forms that magical plants can take, some species have developed behaviors that resemble those of carnivorous plants found in the non-magical world. In ordinary botany, carnivorous plants trap insects and small creatures in order to obtain nutrients that may be scarce in the soil. In magical botany, however, these predatory traits can become far more dramatic. Certain magical plants have evolved complex trapping mechanisms that allow them to capture and digest creatures that wander too close. These plants are often described collectively as tentacular carnivorous plants. While not all of them belong to the same species, they share several common features. Most possess long, flexible tendrils capable of reaching outward from the central body of the plant. These tendrils are used to sense movement, capture prey, and draw it toward the plant's main structure. In appearance, tentacular carnivorous plants vary widely. Some resemble clusters of vines growing from a thick root base, while others grow in the form of bulbous stems surrounded by twisting tendrils. The ends of these tendrils often contain gripping structures or sticky surfaces designed to trap insects and other small creatures. The magical properties of these plants allow them to react far more quickly than ordinary vegetation. When a nearby creature disturbs the ground or brushes against a tendril, the plant may respond immediately. The vines coil around the source of the disturbance and attempt to pull it closer to the plant's central body. Unlike large magical predators such as the Venomous Tentacular, many tentacular carnivorous plants do not possess venom strong enough to harm large creatures. Instead, they rely on slow constriction and digestion. The plant secretes enzymes or magical compounds that break down organic material over time, allowing it to absorb nutrients from whatever it has captured. In the wild, these plants play an important role in magical ecosystems. They help regulate populations of insects and small magical creatures that might otherwise damage surrounding vegetation. By capturing and digesting these creatures, the plants return nutrients to the soil and maintain balance within their environment. Herbologists studying magical forests have observed that tentacular, carnivorous plants often grow in areas where the soil contains unusual magical energy. In these environments, ordinary nutrients may be scarce, encouraging plants to develop alternative methods of survival. Over generations, magical energy appears to have amplified the carnivorous instincts of certain species. Although these plants can appear threatening, most of them pose little danger to adult witches and wizards. Their tendrils are typically designed to capture creatures much smaller than a human. However, careless herbologists who step too close may still find themselves tangled in vines that are surprisingly strong. Because of this risk, students studying herbology are often taught how to recognize the signs of carnivorous magical plants before approaching unfamiliar vegetation. Tangled tendrils, sticky surfaces, and slow-moving vines can all indicate the presence of a plant capable of trapping prey. In controlled environments, such as Hogwarts greenhouses, certain species of carnivorous magical plants are occasionally cultivated for study. These specimens are usually kept in separate sections of the greenhouse, where their vines cannot interfere with other plants. Protective charms and barriers ensure that the plants remain contained. Observing these plants allows students to learn how magical vegetation adapts to challenging environments. The trapping mechanisms demonstrate how plants can develop surprisingly complex responses to the presence of nearby creatures. Some herbologists have also studied whether these carnivorous plants possess a limited form of awareness. While they are not conscious in the way animals are, their ability to detect movement and respond quickly suggests that magical energy may allow them to process environmental signals in unusual ways. Potion makers have occasionally experimented with ingredients derived from carnivorous magical plants. Certain enzymes or magical compounds produced during digestion may have useful properties when diluted and incorporated into potions. However, harvesting these materials requires careful handling to avoid triggering the plant's defensive reactions. For Hogwarts students, the study of carnivorous magical plants often reinforces an important lesson about herbology. Magical plants are not simply passive objects that grow quietly in soil. Many species interact actively with the world around them, reacting to movement, light, sound, or magical energy. Understanding these behaviors allows herbologists to work safely with plants that might otherwise seem dangerous. By observing how the vines move and how the plant responds to disturbances, experienced witches and wizards can avoid becoming entangled. These lessons prepare students for the broader study of magical botany beyond the greenhouses. In the wild, magical forests and gardens may contain plants that have never been fully documented. Recognizing the signs of predatory vegetation can prevent accidents during exploration. Tentacular carnivorous plants therefore represent another fascinating category within the world of magical flora. Their vines and trapping mechanisms demonstrate how magical energy can transform ordinary plant behavior into something far more complex. While these plants capture prey using physical traps, other magical plants influence the mind and emotions of those who encounter them. Some herbs produce effects that alter a person's mood or behavior simply through their leaves or scent. Among these unusual plants is a herb known for producing laughter in those who consume it, a plant called Alihotzi. Among the many magical herbs that influence the mind and body, one of the more unusual examples is the plant known as Alihotzi. Unlike plants that cause physical transformations or produce venomous defenses, Alihotzi affects emotions and behavior in a way that can seem almost playful. Yet despite its light-hearted reputation, the plant must still be handled with care by herbologists and potion makers. Alihotzi grows as a medium-sized magical shrub with soft green leaves that spread outward along flexible stems. The leaves are the most important part of the plant, as they contain the magical compounds responsible for its unusual effect. When consumed in small amounts, these leaves can produce sudden bursts of uncontrollable laughter in the person who ingests them. Because of this reaction, Alihotzi is sometimes referred to as the laughter leaf among potion scholars. The magical effect usually begins quickly after the leaves are eaten or brewed into a potion. The individual affected may begin laughing without being able to stop, even if nothing amusing has occurred. The laughter can continue for several minutes before gradually fading as the magical effect weakens. While this reaction may sound harmless, herbologists note that excessive consumption of Alihotzi leaves can cause discomfort or exhaustion. Continuous laughter can place strain on the body if it lasts too long. For this reason, the plant is usually used in very small quantities when included in potions. Potion makers occasionally include Alihotzi leaves in mixtures designed to alter emotional state. When properly diluted, the plant's magical compounds can lighten a person's mood or disrupt negative magical influences affecting the mind. However, because the plant's effects are somewhat unpredictable, its use is generally limited to specialized potion recipes. The study of Alihotzi provides an interesting example of how magical plants can influence psychological responses. Many magical herbs affect physical health or magical energy within the body. Alihotzi, by contrast, interacts with the emotional and mental aspects of magical physiology. Herbologists believe that the plant developed this ability as a form of defense. In natural environments, creatures that consume the leaves may become distracted by uncontrollable laughter. This temporary confusion would give the plant time to recover and prevent further damage to its stems or roots. Although this defensive mechanism may appear humorous from a distance, it demonstrates how magical plants often evolve unusual strategies for survival. Instead of thorns, venom, or constricting vines, Alihotzi relies on emotional disruption to protect itself. Cultivating Alihotzi requires moderate care, but is generally easier than managing more aggressive magical plants. The shrub prefers well-nourished soil and moderate sunlight. It grows best in environments where the temperature remains stable and where the plant has space to spread its stems outward. Because the leaves contain the plant's active magical compounds, herbologists monitor them carefully during the plant's growth cycle. Leaves harvested too early may contain weaker magical properties, while older leaves may lose some of their potency. Proper timing ensures that the harvested material will function as intended in potion brewing. Within Hogwarts greenhouses, Alihotzi is sometimes studied as an example of how magical plants can affect behavior rather than physical form. Students examining the plant learn how to identify the leaves and understand the effects they produce. While they are rarely encouraged to test the plant's effects directly, its reputation often sparks curiosity among young witches and wizards. The presence of plants like Alihotzi reminds herbologists that magical vegetation can influence more than just the physical world. Emotional and mental states can also be affected by certain magical herbs, adding another layer of complexity to the study of magical botany. In some magical cultures, Alihotzi has been used in celebratory potions intended to create an atmosphere of joy during gatherings or festivals. These mixtures use extremely small amounts of the plant to encourage laughter and positive emotions without overwhelming those who drink them. Despite these occasional uses, the plant is not widely consumed outside controlled potion brewing. The unpredictability of its effects makes it difficult to manage in larger doses. Herbologists therefore treat the plant with respect, recognizing that even seemingly harmless magical herbs can produce powerful reactions. The study of Alihotzi also demonstrates the wide range of abilities found within magical plants. Some herbs heal the body, others transform appearance, and a few influence emotions in surprising ways. Each plant represents a different expression of the magical forces that shape the wizarding world. For students studying herbology, encountering a plant that produces laughter instead of danger can be a refreshing reminder that not every magical plant is threatening. Yet the lesson remains the same as with more dangerous species. Understanding a plant's behavior is the key to using it safely. Although Alihotzi influences the mind in playful ways, other magical plants serve a far more protective role. Some herbs and trees have developed properties that actively repel dark magical creatures, offering protection to those who know how to use them. One such plant, known for its ability to defend against certain dangerous creatures, is the Wigan tree. Among the magical plants known for their protective qualities, one of the most notable is the Wigan tree. Unlike many plants that rely on physical defenses or unusual chemical compounds, the Wigan tree possesses magical properties that help repel certain dark creatures. Because of this, the tree has become an important part of defensive magical traditions. The Wigan tree grows as a medium-sized magical tree with pale bark and long, flexible branches. Its leaves are narrow and slightly silver in color, giving the tree a soft, shimmering appearance when sunlight passes through its canopy. Although it may resemble an ordinary tree from a distance, herbologists quickly recognize its distinctive features. The true value of the Wigan tree lies in its bark and wood. When small pieces of Wigan tree bark are carried or used in magical preparations, they can produce a protective effect against certain magical creatures. This ability has made the tree especially useful for witches and wizards who travel through areas where such creatures might appear. One creature in particular is strongly affected by Wigan tree wood: bowtruckles. Small magical guardians that live in certain trees are known to avoid Wigan trees entirely. Bowtruckles normally inhabit trees whose wood is suitable for wand making, protecting those trees from harm. However, they appear to have a natural aversion to Wigan tree bark, which discourages them from approaching it. Because of this reaction, Wigan tree bark is sometimes used by witches and wizards who need to approach bowtruckle-inhabited trees without provoking the creatures. Carrying a piece of the bark can help keep the bowtruckles at a distance, allowing the wizard to work safely. The protective properties of the Wigan tree may also extend to other magical creatures that are sensitive to certain magical vibrations. Herbologists believe that the bark releases subtle magical energy that interferes with the instincts of some creatures, causing them to retreat rather than approach. For this reason, Wigan trees have occasionally been planted near magical settlements or pathways as a natural form of protection. Although they do not create powerful magical barriers, their presence can discourage certain creatures from wandering too close to populated areas. The cultivation of Wigan trees requires a stable, magical environment. The tree grows best in soil that contains traces of natural, magical energy, often found near magical forests or long-established wizarding settlements. In these locations, the tree develops its protective properties more strongly. Herbologists studying magical trees often observe how the Wigan tree's bark changes as the tree matures. Younger trees produce bark with weaker magical influence, while older trees develop stronger protective qualities. Because of this, the most valuable pieces of bark usually come from mature trees. Harvesting Wigan tree bark must be done carefully to avoid damaging the tree. Small sections are removed without cutting deeply into the trunk. This allows the tree to heal naturally while continuing to grow. Responsible herbologists ensure that the harvesting process does not weaken the tree or disrupt its natural development. Within Hogwarts herbology lessons, the Wigan tree may be discussed when students begin learning about magical plants used for protection. While many plants produce ingredients for potions, others offer benefits simply through their natural magical properties. The Wigan tree is a clear example of this type of plant. The study of such plants reveals another dimension of magical botany. Plants do not always need to be consumed or brewed into potions in order to be useful. Sometimes their natural magical presence can influence the surrounding environment in subtle but important ways. This protective influence has made the Wigan tree a respected plant among herbologists and magical travelers alike. Carrying a piece of its bark can offer reassurance when entering areas where magical creatures might otherwise cause problems. The connection between Wigan trees and bowtruckles also demonstrates the complex relationships that exist between magical plants and magical creatures. In many magical ecosystems, plants and creatures interact closely, influencing each other's behavior and survival. For herbologists, understanding these relationships is an important part of studying magical environments. By observing how creatures respond to certain plants, researchers can learn more about the magical forces shaping the ecosystem. Although the Wigan tree is valued for its defensive properties, it remains a peaceful plant that grows quietly within magical forests. Its branches sway gently in the wind, and its pale leaves create soft patterns of light beneath the canopy. Students studying the tree often find it comforting compared to more aggressive magical plants. After working with vines that strike or roots that scream, encountering a plant whose power lies in protection rather than attack can be reassuring. Yet even peaceful magical plants can contribute to powerful magical effects when their properties are used correctly. The bark of the Wigan tree demonstrates how plants can provide defense without violence, simply by influencing the magical balance of their surroundings. Beyond plants that protect against creatures, herbologists have also studied flowers and herbs capable of producing potent magical toxins. Some plants generate substances so powerful that they must be handled only by experienced potion makers. These venomous magical flowers represent another fascinating branch of magical botany, where beauty and danger often grow side by side. Among the many magical plants studied in herbology, some are valued not for healing or protection, but for the powerful toxins they produce. These plants must be handled with great care, as even small amounts of their extracts can have dangerous effects if misused. One of the most notable examples of such a plant is the Venomous Tentacular. The Venomous Tentacular is one of the most aggressive magical plants cultivated in wizarding greenhouses. At first glance, it resembles a cluster of thick vines emerging from a central root base. However, the plant quickly reveals its unusual nature when its vines begin to move. These tentacle-like stems twist and lash outward, searching for anything that approaches too closely. The plant's vines are strong and flexible, capable of coiling around objects or creatures within reach. Each vine is covered with small hooked thorns that help it grip whatever it manages to capture. This makes the Venomous Tentacular difficult to handle without protective equipment. In addition to its physical defenses, the plant produces a powerful venom within its tissues. The venom can be found in the thorns and sap of the plant, and contact with it may cause irritation, paralysis, or other harmful effects, depending on the amount involved. For this reason, herbologists always approach the plant with extreme caution. Despite its dangerous nature, the Venomous Tentacular is cultivated because its venom has important uses in potion making. When diluted and carefully prepared, small amounts of the venom can become valuable ingredients in complex magical potions. These potions may rely on the venom's strong magical properties to create powerful reactions within a brewing mixture. Harvesting venom from the plant requires both skill and patience. Herbologists must approach the plant while wearing protective gloves and often use specialized tools to avoid direct contact with the vines. Even with these precautions, the plant may attempt to lash out when disturbed. One method used by experienced herbologists involves briefly distracting the plant with movement on one side, while carefully collecting venom from another part of the vine. This technique requires coordination and steady hands, as the plant's reactions can be unpredictable. Because of the danger involved, students studying herbology usually observe the Venomous Tentacular only after they have gained experience with less aggressive plants. The plant is often kept in reinforced sections of magical greenhouses, where its vines cannot reach beyond their designated space. Professor Pomona Sprout, the longtime herbology professor at Hogwarts, has occasionally introduced the plant during advanced lessons to demonstrate how magical plants defend themselves. Students quickly learn that approaching the plant carelessly can result in vines snapping toward them with surprising speed. Even within controlled environments, the Venomous Tentacular must be monitored carefully. Herbologists ensure that the plant receives the proper nutrients and space to grow without becoming too aggressive or damaging nearby vegetation. The plant thrives in warm, humid environments with rich soil. These conditions allow its vines to grow long and flexible, increasing the plant's ability to capture prey or defend itself against disturbances. In the wild, Venomous Tentacular are believed to grow in remote magical jungles and dense forests, where their aggressive nature helps them survive among other magical species. Some magical creatures may occasionally become trapped by the plant's vines, providing nutrients that strengthen its growth. Although this behavior resembles that of carnivorous plants, the Venomous Tentacular relies more heavily on its venomous sap than on digestion alone. The presence of venom within the plant's tissues suggests that magical evolution has shaped it to defend itself effectively in competitive environments. By combining physical strength with toxic compounds, the plant has developed multiple layers of protection. For potion makers, however, these defensive traits are exactly what make the plant valuable. The venom produced by the Venomous Tentacular contains concentrated magical energy that can interact with other potion ingredients in powerful ways. When carefully diluted, the venom becomes a useful component in several advanced potion recipes. The study of the Venomous Tentacular therefore highlights the dual nature of many magical plants. A species that appears threatening or dangerous may still provide valuable ingredients for witches and wizards who understand how to use it safely. Students learning about this plant often come away with a deeper respect for the unpredictability of magical vegetation. Unlike ordinary plants, many magical species react actively to their surroundings, using movement, toxins, or magical energy to defend themselves. Working with such plants requires patience and observation. Herbologists must learn how to read the subtle movements of vines or leaves before approaching. Understanding these signals allows them to harvest ingredients without triggering the plant's full defensive response. Although the Venomous Tentacular is one of the more dramatic examples of aggressive magical plants, it is not the only species capable of producing dangerous substances. Other plants generate toxins in quieter ways, storing powerful chemicals within their roots, petals, or sap. Some of these plants appear gentle or even beautiful, hiding their dangerous properties beneath delicate leaves and flowers. One such plant, well known among potion makers for its potent magical poison, is the tentacular cousin known as the Shrivelfig. Among the many magical plants used in potion making, some are valued not because they are dangerous, but because of the powerful transformations they undergo as they mature. One of the most recognizable examples of such a plant is the Shrivelfig. Unlike aggressive plants such as the Venomous Tentacular, the Shrivelfig appears calm and manageable, yet its fruit plays an important role in several magical potions. The Shrivelfig grows as a small magical tree or thick shrub with broad leaves and short branches that spread outward from a central trunk. When the plant is young, its fruit appears plump and smooth, resembling ordinary figs found in the non-magical world. However, as the fruit ripens, it begins to wrinkle and shrink, giving it the shriveled appearance that inspired the plant's name. This unusual transformation is not simply a visual change. As the fruit shrinks and wrinkles, the magical compounds inside it become more concentrated. Herbologists believe that the drying process strengthens the magical properties of the fruit, making it more useful in potion brewing once it reaches its shriveled stage. The pulp of the Shrivelfig is the most valuable part of the plant. When harvested and prepared properly, it becomes an important ingredient in several magical potions. One of the most notable uses of Shrivelfig pulp is in the Draught of Peace, a potion designed to calm anxiety and soothe emotional distress. Because the Draught of Peace requires careful balance between its ingredients, the Shrivelfig pulp must be measured precisely. Too little may reduce the calming effect of the potion, while too much could cause the potion to become unstable. Potion makers therefore handle the ingredient with great care. Preparing the pulp requires the fruit to be sliced open once it has fully shriveled. The interior contains soft fibers and concentrated juices that carry the plant's magical properties. These materials are then mashed or ground before being added to the potion mixture. Students studying herbology at Hogwarts often encounter Shrivelfigs during their early lessons because the plant is relatively safe to handle. Compared to more aggressive magical plants, the Shrivelfig allows students to focus on cultivation techniques without worrying about defensive vines or poisonous sap. Growing the plant requires warm soil and consistent moisture. Shrivelfigs thrive in greenhouse environments where temperature and humidity can be carefully controlled. The plant's broad leaves absorb sunlight efficiently, allowing it to produce fruit throughout the growing season. Herbologists must monitor the fruit closely as it matures. Harvesting the figs too early may result in fruit that has not yet developed its full magical potency. Waiting until the fruit has shriveled ensures that the magical compounds inside have reached their strongest concentration. The transformation from smooth fruit to wrinkled fig has fascinated magical botanists for many years. Some researchers believe that the plant gradually absorbs magical energy from the surrounding environment as the fruit matures. This energy may contribute to the concentration of magical compounds within the pulp. Although the Shrivelfig is most commonly associated with the draught of peace, potion makers occasionally experiment with it in other mixtures as well. Its concentrated magical properties allow it to interact with various ingredients, sometimes producing subtle calming effects in different potions. Beyond potion making, the plant also serves as an example of how magical plants can transform over time. Unlike species that display dramatic movement or aggression, the Shrivelfig demonstrates that magical change can occur slowly and quietly during the natural growth process. For students learning herbology, the plant provides an opportunity to observe how magical properties develop within a plant as it matures. Watching the figs wrinkle and shrink over time allows them to see how a plant's magical potential can increase through natural cycles. Because the plant is relatively manageable, herbologists often cultivate multiple Shrivelfig trees within magical greenhouses. This ensures a steady supply of fruit for potion classes and research. The trees can produce many figs during a single growing season, making them a reliable source of ingredients. Despite its gentle appearance, the Shrivelfig remains an important component in the complex system of magical potion ingredients. Its pulp contributes to mixtures designed to calm troubled minds and restore emotional balance, demonstrating how magical plants can support both physical and emotional well-being. The study of the Shrivelfig also reminds herbologists that not every magical plant needs dramatic abilities to be significant. Some plants offer their value through quiet chemical transformations rather than movement or defense. As witches and wizards continue to study magical flora, plants like the Shrivelfig reveal how magical energy interacts with natural growth. Each stage of the plant's development reflects the subtle ways in which magic shapes the living world. Although the Shrivelfig is known for calming potions, other magical plants influence the body in more unusual ways. Some herbs can alter perception or temporarily enhance certain physical abilities when used in potion mixtures. Among these intriguing plants is one known for its stimulating properties and distinctive appearance, a magical herb called Valyrian. Among the many magical herbs used in potion brewing, Valyrian is one of the most widely recognized for its calming and restorative properties. Unlike aggressive magical plants that defend themselves with thorns or venom, Valyrian is valued for the gentle influence it has on the body and mind. Potion makers have relied on this herb for centuries when preparing mixtures intended to soothe anxiety and restore emotional balance. Valyrian grows as a leafy herb with tall stems and clusters of small pale flowers that bloom near the top of the plant. The leaves are long and narrow, spreading outward from the stem in soft layers. When fully grown, the plant has a delicate appearance, swaying easily in the breeze within magical gardens and greenhouses. Despite its gentle appearance, Valyrian possesses powerful magical compounds within its roots and leaves. These compounds are particularly effective when included in calming potions. For this reason, Valyrian is most commonly associated with the Draught of Peace, a potion designed to reduce agitation and emotional distress. The Draught of Peace requires careful preparation, as each ingredient must be added at the correct moment in the brewing process. Valyrian sprigs are one of the final components added to the potion. When placed into the mixture at the proper stage, the herb releases magical properties that help stabilize the calming effects of the potion. Students studying potion making at Hogwarts often encounter Valyrian during lessons focused on emotional regulation potions. Because the Draught of Peace can be dangerous if brewed incorrectly, students must pay close attention to the timing and preparation of the ingredients. Herbology lessons sometimes complement these potion classes by teaching students how Valyrian is cultivated and harvested. Growing the plant successfully requires well-nourished soil, moderate sunlight, and careful watering. The herb thrives in environments where the temperature remains stable and where the soil retains moisture without becoming overly saturated. The roots of the Valyrian plant are particularly valuable. When dried and prepared correctly, they contain concentrated magical compounds that can enhance the calming effects of certain potions. However, in Hogwarts potion classes, the sprigs of the plant are more commonly used because they are easier for students to handle safely. Harvesting Valyrian requires cutting the stems carefully so that the plant can continue to grow and produce new shoots. Herbologists often gather the sprigs shortly before the plant reaches full flowering stage, when its magical properties are believed to be strongest. The scent of Valyrian is another interesting characteristic noted by herbologists. While some witches and wizards find the aroma mildly sweet, others describe it as unusually strong. Magical botanists believe that the scent may help attract certain magical insects that assist in pollination, ensuring the plant's continued growth. The plant's association with calmness and relaxation has made it a trusted ingredient among potion makers. When used correctly, Valyrian helps balance more volatile ingredients within a potion mixture. Its magical properties stabilize emotional effects, preventing sudden mood swings or magical surges. Because of these qualities, the herb is sometimes used in potions designed to help individuals rest more peacefully. Although such potions are usually brewed by experienced potion makers, the presence of Valyrian ensures that the mixture produces a gentle and controlled effect. Herbologists studying Valyrian often emphasize how plants can influence emotional states through subtle magical interactions with the human body. Just as certain plants in the non-magical world can produce calming herbal remedies, magical plants like Valyrian amplify these effects through the presence of magical energy. In magical greenhouses, Valyrian is usually grown in neat rows where the plants can receive equal amounts of sunlight and moisture. The herb does not require the reinforced containment used for more aggressive magical species, making it easier to cultivate for educational purposes. Students tending Valyrian plants in herbology lessons often find the experience peaceful compared to working with more unpredictable vegetation. The herb grows steadily and rarely reacts aggressively to handling, allowing students to focus on proper cultivation techniques. Despite its calm nature, the magical significance of Valyrian should not be underestimated. Without ingredients like this herb, many potions designed to regulate emotions or reduce magical stress would be far less effective. The presence of Valyrian in potion recipes demonstrates how magical plants can support mental well-being just as much as physical health. Its soothing properties have made it an essential component in the study of potion making and magical medicine. For herbologists, the plant serves as a reminder that magical flora do not always display dramatic behavior in order to be important. Sometimes, the most valuable plants are those that quietly assist witches and wizards in maintaining balance within their lives. Although Valyrian is known primarily for calming potions, other magical plants produce substances that have the opposite effect, creating confusion or disorientation when encountered. These plants reveal yet another way in which magical flora can influence those who interact with them. One such plant is the Bubotuber, a strange magical organism that produces a thick pus-like substance with unusual properties. Among the many unusual magical plants studied in herbology, the Bubotuber stands out because of its strange appearance and the substance it produces. Unlike ordinary plants that grow leaves, flowers, or fruit, the Bubotuber resembles a thick, black, slug-like growth protruding from the soil. Its surface is smooth and rubbery, marked with swollen lumps that give the plant a slightly unsettling look. Although the Bubotuber may appear unpleasant at first glance, it produces a substance that has valuable uses in magical medicine. Each lump on the plant contains a thick yellow-green liquid, commonly referred to as Bubotuber pus. Despite the name, this substance is not harmful when handled properly. In fact, it possesses powerful healing properties when diluted and prepared correctly. Herbologists studying Bubotubers quickly learn that the pus must be collected with care. When pressure is applied to the lumps along the plant's surface, the liquid bursts outward. If the pus touches bare skin in its concentrated form, it may cause irritation or small boils. For this reason, anyone harvesting the substance must wear protective gloves. The unusual nature of Bubotuber pus has made it especially valuable in certain magical potions and treatments. When diluted, the liquid becomes an effective ingredient for healing mixtures used to treat skin conditions such as acne. This property makes the plant particularly interesting to potion makers studying magical forms of dermatological medicine. Students studying herbology at Hogwarts often encounter Bubotubers during lessons that focus on harvesting magical plant substances. The plant provides a useful example of how magical ingredients can be extracted from vegetation without harming the plant itself. During such lessons, students carefully squeeze the lumps along the Bubotuber's surface using gloved hands or specialized tools. The pus is collected in small containers and later diluted for safe use in potion brewing. Because the plant can produce multiple lumps, it often provides a steady supply of the substance over time. The Bubotuber's unusual form has puzzled magical botanists for many years. Unlike traditional plants with roots, stems, and leaves, the Bubotuber appears as a single, fleshy structure growing partially above the soil. Some researchers believe it may represent a hybrid form between plant and magical fungus. Whatever its classification may be, the Bubotuber clearly interacts with magical energy in ways that differ from ordinary vegetation. The thick fluid contained within its lumps carries magical compounds that can interact with the body when diluted properly. This ability makes the plant valuable despite its strange appearance. Growing Bubotubers in magical greenhouses requires moist soil and moderate warmth. The plant thrives in environments where the ground retains a steady level of moisture. Too much dryness can cause the lumps to shrink, reducing the amount of pus the plant produces. Herbologists must also monitor the plant carefully to ensure that the lumps do not burst prematurely. If the pus leaks into the soil, it may lose some of its magical potency before it can be collected. Gentle handling, therefore, becomes an essential part of working with the plant. For students, the Bubotuber provides an important lesson about how magical ingredients are not always pleasant in appearance. Many useful substances in potion brewing come from plants that may look strange or even repulsive at first glance. Learning to work with such plants requires patience and careful attention. Despite its unusual qualities, the Bubotuber remains relatively safe compared to many other magical plants. It does not lash out with vines or attempt to trap those who approach it. Instead, its only defense lies in the irritating effect of its concentrated pus. This mild defensive reaction likely evolved to discourage creatures from biting into the plant. A predator that attempted to consume the Bubotuber might quickly learn that the bursting lumps cause discomfort. Over time, such encounters would teach animals to avoid the plant altogether. For potion makers, however, the plant's defensive substance has become a valuable resource. By diluting the pus carefully, witches and wizards can transform an irritating fluid into a beneficial medicinal ingredient. The study of Bubotubers also highlights how magical plants can produce complex biological substances within their tissues. These substances interact with magical energy in ways that can support healing when prepared correctly. Within Hogwarts greenhouses, rows of Bubotubers sometimes grow alongside more traditional magical plants. Their dark shapes resting in the soil create a striking contrast with the green leaves and flowers surrounding them. Students passing through the greenhouse may pause to observe the swollen lumps that contain the plant's unusual fluid. Although the Bubotuber is known primarily for medicinal uses, it represents another example of how magical plants contribute to the broader world of wizarding knowledge. Each species offers something unique, whether through healing properties, defensive abilities, or unusual biological processes. As herbologists continue exploring magical flora, they often encounter plants whose appearance conceals deeper magical functions. Some plants grow quietly beneath the soil, their roots storing magical energy for long periods before releasing it in unexpected ways. One such plant, closely related to both potion brewing and magical defense, is known as the Devil's Snare. Among the many magical plants known for their defensive behavior, few are as well known or as dangerous as Devil's Snare. Unlike plants that rely on thorns or venom, Devil's Snare defends itself through rapid growth and powerful constricting vines. When undisturbed, the plant may appear harmless, growing quietly across the ground like an ordinary mass of creeping vegetation. However, when something touches it, the plant reacts immediately. Devil's Snare grows as a thick network of dark green vines that spread across the soil and climb nearby surfaces. The plant often forms dense patches in shaded environments where sunlight is limited. In these dim locations, the vines coil around one another, creating a tangled mat that can easily be mistaken for ordinary undergrowth. The plant's true nature becomes clear only when it senses movement or pressure. The vines begin to twist and tighten around whatever has disturbed them. This reaction happens quickly, and the plant continues tightening its grip the more the victim struggles. In extreme cases, the vines can immobilize a creature completely. Herbologists believe this behavior developed as a method of capturing prey and protecting the plant from disturbance. By constricting creatures that wander into its vines, the plant prevents them from damaging its roots or stems. Although Devil's Snare does not digest prey in the same way as carnivorous plants, it is capable of holding creatures for extended periods. The plant's reaction is triggered by touch and movement. When the vines detect pressure, magical signals pass through the plant's structure, causing nearby vines to contract toward the disturbance. This process allows the plant to react with surprising speed, despite lacking muscles or nerves like those found in animals. One of the most important characteristics of Devil's Snare is its strong dislike of light and heat. The plant thrives in darkness and shade, where its vines grow thick and powerful. When exposed to bright light or warmth, however, the vines begin to loosen and retreat. Because of this weakness, witches and wizards who encounter Devil's Snare can often escape by producing light or heat. Spells that create bright illumination may cause the vines to recoil, allowing someone trapped by the plant to break free. Understanding this weakness has become an essential lesson for students studying magical plants. Devil's Snare is frequently discussed during herbology classes at Hogwarts because of its importance in magical plant safety. Students learn to recognize the tangled vines and shaded environments where the plant tends to grow. Identifying the plant before stepping into its reach is the best way to avoid becoming entangled. The plant also gained particular attention through an event involving first-year Hogwarts students during the early years of Harry Potter's education. In a series of magical protective challenges designed to guard a hidden object within the school, a chamber filled with Devil's Snare vines formed one of the obstacles. When the students accidentally fell into the mass of vines, the plant immediately began tightening around them. Panic initially caused the vines to constrict even more strongly. However, one of the students remembered that the plant disliked light and warmth. By casting a spell that produced bright light, the vines quickly loosened, allowing them to escape. This encounter demonstrated how understanding magical plants can be just as important as knowing spells. Without knowledge of the plant's weakness, the situation could have become far more dangerous. Cultivating Devil's Snare in controlled environments requires extreme caution. Herbologists who grow the plant for study usually confine it to secure greenhouse areas where its vines cannot spread uncontrollably. Protective barriers and charms ensure that the plant remains contained. Despite its dangerous nature, Devil's Snare continues to be studied because it provides insight into how magical plants respond to environmental stimuli. Its rapid constriction and sensitivity to light reveal how magical energy can influence plant behavior in complex ways. Herbologists studying the plant often observe how its vines react to different levels of light and movement. These observations help researchers understand how magical plants communicate signals through their tissues. The plant's ability to react so quickly has led some scholars to compare it with certain magical creatures. Although it lacks a brain or nervous system, its responses to touch suggest that magical energy may allow it to process environmental information in ways that resemble instinct. For students learning about magical flora, Devil's Snare serves as a powerful reminder that not all plants are passive. In the magical world, vegetation can move, defend itself, and react to threats with surprising speed. Working with such plants requires calm thinking and careful observation. Panic or excessive movement often makes the situation worse when dealing with Devil's Snare. Remaining still and introducing light is usually the safest response. The plant therefore teaches an important lesson about the relationship between witches and magical vegetation. Understanding a plant's nature is often more effective than attempting to overpower it through force. Beyond plants that trap or constrict their victims, herbologists have also documented magical trees and herbs that store extraordinary magical energy within their roots and leaves. These plants interact with powerful magical forces in ways that influence both potions and spellcasting. Among the most fascinating of these plants are those connected to ancient magical forests, where magical energy flows naturally through the soil and air. Beyond the controlled environments of greenhouses and magical gardens, many magical plants grow naturally within ancient forests, where magical energy has accumulated for centuries. These forests form some of the most complex ecosystems in the wizarding world. The plants growing within them often develop unusual magical properties as they absorb the energy flowing through the land. Ancient magical forests differ from ordinary woodland environments in subtle but important ways. Over long periods of time, magical events, spell casting, and the presence of magical creatures can cause energy to seep into the soil and surrounding air. This energy gradually influences the plants that grow there, allowing certain species to develop enhanced magical qualities. Herbologists studying these forests have observed that plants growing in such environments often display stronger magical effects than those cultivated in ordinary soil. The roots of these plants draw nutrients and magical energy from deep within the ground, storing it within their tissues as they grow. One of the most famous magical forests connected to the study of magical plants is the Forbidden Forest near Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This ancient woodland stretches across a vast area and contains a wide variety of magical species, both plant and creature. Within the forest, towering trees grow alongside thick undergrowth filled with magical herbs and vines. Some of these plants have never been fully catalogued, as the forest remains largely unexplored by herbologists due to the presence of dangerous magical creatures that inhabit the area. The soil of the Forbidden Forest is believed to contain traces of magical energy accumulated over centuries of magical activity. Wizards, magical creatures, and ancient spells have all contributed to the magical environment that now shapes the plants growing there. As a result, certain plants within the forest display unusual growth patterns or heightened magical sensitivity. Some trees develop wood suitable for wand making, while others produce rare herbs that cannot be easily cultivated elsewhere. Herbologists who venture into such forests must observe their surroundings carefully. Magical plants growing in these environments may react differently than their greenhouse-cultivated counterparts. Some species become more aggressive, while others develop stronger magical properties. The dense canopy of ancient trees also influences how magical plants grow. Limited sunlight encourages many species to adapt to darker conditions, much like Devil's Snare. Vines and mosses thrive in the shaded forest floor, often spreading across fallen logs and rocks. In addition to plant life, magical creatures living in these forests also interact with the vegetation. Bowtruckles inhabit certain wand-producing trees, protecting them from damage. Centaurs roam the deeper parts of the forest, maintaining a quiet presence among the ancient trees. These interactions create a delicate balance between plant and creature life. Herbologists studying magical forests must respect this balance, avoiding actions that could disturb the ecosystem. Collecting magical plants from such environments requires both knowledge and caution. Some herbs may appear familiar, but possess far stronger magical potency due to the forest's magical influence. Using these ingredients without proper preparation could lead to unpredictable results in potion brewing. For this reason, experienced herbologists often study magical forests through careful observation rather than extensive harvesting. By learning how plants behave in their natural environment, they gain insights into how magical energy shapes plant development. Students at Hogwarts occasionally learn about the Forbidden Forest during their herbology lessons, though they are rarely allowed to enter the forest unsupervised. The dangers within the forest make it unsuitable for inexperienced explorers. However, understanding that such environments exist helps students appreciate the broader world of magical botany. Magical plants do not grow only in neat greenhouse rows. Many of them thrive in wild landscapes shaped by centuries of magical history. Some of the most powerful magical ingredients discovered by herbologists have originated in such forests. Rare herbs and ancient trees often develop unique properties that cannot easily be replicated elsewhere. These discoveries remind witches and wizards that magical plants are deeply connected to the environments where they grow. Soil, climate, magical energy, and nearby creatures all contribute to shaping the plant's development. For herbologists, exploring these forests represents one of the most exciting aspects of their field. Each journey into an ancient woodland may reveal new species or previously unknown magical behaviors. Even after centuries of study, magical forests still contain mysteries waiting to be discovered. Plants hidden beneath thick layers of moss or growing high in the branches of ancient trees may hold magical properties that have yet to be fully understood. As researchers continue to study these environments, they gain a deeper appreciation for how magical plants interact with the world around them. Each vine, root, and leaf contributes to the complex web of life within these forests. While ancient forests represent the wild side of magical botany, many magical plants are carefully cultivated in places like Hogwarts greenhouses, where students learn how to study and care for them safely. While ancient magical forests reveal how plants develop in the wild, much of what witches and wizards learn about magical flora comes from careful cultivation within controlled environments. One of the most famous places where magical plants are studied and grown is the set of greenhouses located on the grounds of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. These greenhouses serve as the center of herbology education for Hogwarts students. Within their glass walls, countless magical plants grow under the supervision of skilled herbologists. The greenhouses allow students to observe, cultivate, and harvest magical plants in a safe and structured setting. The Hogwarts greenhouses are arranged in several sections, each designed to house plants with different levels of difficulty and danger. Some areas contain relatively harmless herbs used in potion brewing, while others hold far more aggressive magical species that require special precautions. Students begin their herbology studies with plants that are simple to manage. These early lessons focus on basic cultivation skills, such as watering, soil preparation, and identifying plant growth stages. By learning these fundamentals, students gain the knowledge needed to work safely with more advanced magical plants later in their studies. As students progress through their years at Hogwarts, they encounter increasingly complex species. Plants like Mandrakes, Venomous Tentacular, and Devil's Snare are introduced only after students have developed the ability to recognize the risks involved in handling magical vegetation. Professor Pomona Sprout, the longtime herbology professor at Hogwarts, has guided generations of students through these lessons. Known for her deep knowledge of magical plants and her calm teaching style, she ensures that students understand both the usefulness and the dangers of the plants they study. Within the greenhouses, students often work in small groups as they learn how to care for magical plants. This collaborative approach allows them to support one another when dealing with species that may react unpredictably. Cooperation becomes an important skill, especially when handling plants with defensive behaviors. The interior of the greenhouses is carefully arranged to provide ideal conditions for each plant species. Some sections contain warm, humid air for tropical magical plants, while others maintain cooler temperatures for herbs that prefer shaded environments. Shelves, planting beds, and suspended containers allow a wide variety of plants to grow within the limited space of the greenhouse. Each plant is labeled and monitored so that students can learn how to identify its characteristics and magical properties. Watering magical plants requires careful attention. Some species respond well to regular watering, while others require very specific amounts of moisture. Too much water can weaken certain magical plants, while too little can prevent them from developing their magical qualities. Soil composition is also an important factor in cultivating magical plants. Herbologists often mix special magical compost into the soil to provide nutrients that support magical growth. This compost may contain organic material from magical creatures or plant residues rich in magical energy. Light plays another crucial role in plant development. While many plants thrive in sunlight, others prefer darker environments. Devil's Snare, for example, grows best in shaded areas where bright light is limited. Adjusting the greenhouse lighting allows herbologists to replicate these natural conditions. Students working in the greenhouses gradually learn to recognize how different plants respond to their surroundings. Observing leaf color, vine movement, and growth patterns helps them understand whether a plant is healthy or under stress. These observations are important not only for plant care but also for potion brewing. Ingredients harvested from unhealthy plants may not contain the magical potency required for successful potion preparation. Maintaining healthy plants, therefore, becomes essential for supplying potion classes with reliable ingredients. Beyond practical cultivation, the greenhouses also provide an opportunity for students to appreciate the diversity of magical plant life. Rows of herbs, vines, shrubs, and small trees demonstrate how varied magical flora can be. Some plants produce ingredients for potions, while others serve defensive or protective roles within magical environments. Still others exist primarily as subjects of study, helping herbologists understand how magic interacts with living organisms. The quiet atmosphere of the greenhouses often contrasts with the unpredictable nature of the plants themselves. While sunlight filters through the glass panels above, students carefully move between planting beds, aware that some plants may react quickly to careless handling. Through these lessons, students learn that herbology is not simply about collecting ingredients. It is a discipline that requires patience, observation, and respect for the living world of magical plants. The knowledge gained in these greenhouses prepares young witches and wizards for future work with magical flora beyond the walls of Hogwarts. Whether they become potion makers, magical researchers, or herbologists themselves, their understanding of magical plants begins here. Over time, the greenhouses become more than just classrooms. They serve as living collections of magical plant knowledge, preserving species that have been studied by generations of witches and wizards. As students progress through their studies, they come to realize that every magical plant has its own story. Each leaf, root, and vine represents centuries of interaction between magic and the natural world. Understanding these plants allows witches and wizards to appreciate the quiet but powerful role that magical flora plays in their lives. From potion ingredients to protective trees, magical plants form an essential part of the wizarding world. This long tradition of studying magical plants continues today, as herbologists and students alike explore the many species that grow within magical greenhouses and forests across the wizarding world. Throughout the wizarding world, magical plants have quietly shaped the daily lives of witches and wizards in ways that often go unnoticed. While spells and magical creatures tend to attract the most attention, the study of herbology reveals how deeply magic is rooted in the natural world. Every greenhouse, forest clearing, and hidden garden contains plants whose properties influence potion making, healing, protection, and magical research. From the earliest days of magical history, witches and wizards have relied on plants to support their craft. Long before the construction of great magical schools, early magical communities studied the plants growing around them. They learned which leaves could soothe illness, which roots carried magical energy, and which vines needed to be approached with caution. Over time, this knowledge developed into the structured field, now known as herbology. Herbologists began cataloging magical plants, recording their appearances, behaviors, and uses. Through careful observation, they discovered how magical energy interacts with plant life, creating species that behave in ways far different from ordinary vegetation. Some magical plants defend themselves with moving vines or venomous sap. Others influence the mind or body through subtle magical compounds hidden within their leaves and roots. Still others interact with magical creatures, forming delicate ecosystems where plant and creature life depend on one another. The study of magical plants therefore extends beyond simple gardening. Herbology requires patience, curiosity, and a willingness to observe how living organisms respond to magic. Each plant species reveals another piece of the complex relationship between magic and nature. At Hogwarts, students begin learning these lessons in the greenhouses under the guidance of experienced herbologists. There they encounter plants that heal, plants that defend themselves, and plants whose magical properties become essential ingredients in powerful potions. These early lessons prepare them for a world where magical plants appear in forests, gardens, and potion laboratories across the wizarding world. Whether harvesting Shrivelfigs, studying Mandrakes, or observing the twisting vines of Devil's Snare, students gradually learn that magical plants demand both knowledge and respect. Beyond the classroom, magical plants continue to support witches and wizards in countless ways. Potion makers rely on carefully cultivated herbs to create mixtures that heal illness, calm troubled minds, or produce remarkable transformations. Magical travelers carry plant-based protections, such as Wigan tree bark, when exploring unfamiliar lands. Even the tools used by witches and wizards reflect the influence of magical plants. The wood of wand trees once grew quietly in magical forests, before becoming the channel through which spells are cast. Each wand represents a living connection between magic and the natural world. Herbologists remain dedicated to studying these plants, preserving rare species, and discovering new ones hidden within ancient forests and remote magical landscapes. Their work ensures that knowledge of magical flora continues to grow with each generation. The quiet world of magical plants may not always stand in the spotlight of wizarding history, but its influence is everywhere. In every potion brewed, every greenhouse tended, and every forest explored, magical plants continue to shape the magical world. And as the greenhouses settle into silence for the night, and the forests grow still beneath the moonlight, countless magical plants continue their slow and patient growth, waiting for the next curious witch or wizard to discover the secrets hidden within their leaves and roots. The study of magical plants reminds us that magic is not found only in spells or powerful wizards. It also grows quietly in soil, climbs along ancient trunks, and unfolds in leaves that have absorbed centuries of magical energy. From the whispering roots of ancient forests to the carefully tended beds inside Hogwarts greenhouses, magical plants continue to shape the wizarding world in subtle but powerful ways. Some defend themselves with twisting vines, others heal wounds or calm troubled minds, and many provide the essential ingredients that make potion making possible. Each plant carries its own story, shaped by the environment in which it grows and the magical forces that flow through the land. Herbology teaches patience more than anything else. Plants grow slowly, responding to light, soil, and time. Their magic reveals itself not through sudden spectacle, but through quiet transformation. A seed becomes a vine, a leaf becomes a potion ingredient, and a forest becomes a living archive of magical history. Long after the classrooms grow quiet and the greenhouse lanterns dim, these plants continue their steady work beneath the soil and under the stars. And somewhere, in a shaded corner of a magical garden, or deep within an ancient forest, another strange and wonderful plant may already be growing, waiting patiently to be discovered.